The story is about a dungeon that suddenly appeared in the yard of a 40-year-old guy named Kazuhiko, Ezoe's house, where he ran a consulting business. As it turns out, this dungeon leads to the downfall of the world, so Kazuhiko decided to start a new enterprise called Dungeon Busters. In the Tokyo metropolitan city, Edogawa Ward, Kazuhiko can be seen slurping his delicious ramen. After he finishes his meal, he thanks the owner for his service and leaves for work. He has a meeting with Mr. Sasaki Shoji at 1 p.m. and then a meeting with Mr. Kurokawa Kogyo at 3 p.m. in Shinagawa. As Kazuhiko checks his schedule for the day, he gets a call from someone. Kazuhiko decides to pick up the call and thanks the person for the other day. He schedules his next meeting and gets going. 10 years ago, Kazuhiko quit his job after becoming a certified business consultant and labor attorney. Ever since, he has been working in Edogawa, Koto, and Chiba as a consultant for insurance companies, training lecturer, and so on. While walking, Kazuhiko is notified about some company canceling the meeting and thinks he will have to get in touch with another company now. Kazuhiko doesn't intend to get married and lives in a 30-year-old house in the Shikabane district of Edogawa, which is an isolated island on land. Both his parents are no longer in this world with him, and he has no siblings. There are relatives a few miles away who occasionally come to visit him. He lives a carefree life where he gets 2 work, 1 day off, 2 days work, and then 2 days off. Kazuhiko walks past a shop where he encounters Molki. He gets a call from Mr. Yuzi with plenty of service on hand. He looks at his watch, realizing he has plenty of time on his hand right now. With that, he decides to have 1 drink. After a tiring day full of work, Kazuhiko finally comes back home. He opens the door, gets inside, and shuts the door behind him. He takes off his shoes and decides to wash his face. After that, he cooks a delicious meal to end the day. As he is about to dig in, Kazuhiko hears a loud noise with everything shaking. Once everything is calm, he wonders if it was an earthquake. Kazuhiko decides to check the news, which is all about tomorrow's weather. He couldn't find any news about the shaking, so he decided to call it a day, assuming he had plenty of drinks today. The next day, Kazuhiko decides to do some laundry when he sees a big hole in the yard. He wonders how come he never saw this hole before. Kazuhiko decides to look around, wondering if the hole was caused by some meteorite. However, upon further analysis, he realizes that the hole is a basement leading somewhere. Kazuhiko wonders there was no information about a basement when he bought this house. He decides to take a look since he has 2 days off. With that said, Kazuhiko descends down the old stone stairs, wondering what was the basement used for. The air is flowing through the basement. Kazuhiko wonders if the basement cracked open due to yesterday's earthquake. He would like to steer clear of any trouble in the neighborhood over this. He realizes that directionally, the length of the stairway extends to the neighbor's eaves. He decides to find out how far the basement goes. As he descends down the stairs, he finds a huge door. Upon opening, Kazuhiko thinks that this is quite a large basement. He could probably use it for stuff if he could get it in shape. But first, he will have to inform the authorities about it. He looks around to find more doors, and thinks that by the looks of it, it is either shelter from the time of opposition or a military facility. He observes one of the gate but finds no keyhole, making him wonder if this door will even open. Kazuhiko uses his flash to look at the door. When the door confirms him as the first contactor, activate the dungeon system in accordance with the world law, and 1 orbital revolution remains until the dungeons are activated. Shocked, Kazuhiko wonders where did this voice come from. Just then, the gate talks about a character card. Ane, the female ninja. It says that increased cards capacity, skill slots, and skill selection will be offered as rewards. The unique ability card Gacha has been set up. Again, shocked and confused, Kazuhiko asks if the gate was mentioning some female ninja card. But before he could understand anything, the dungeon roulette finishes along with the coordinate fixation. It announces the name of the dungeon, Abyss, difficulty level A, drop reward A, and acquisition factor level A. The dungeon is looking forward for Kazuhiko's progress towards a new era. And with that, a female ninja comes out of nowhere wishing Kazuhiko best of luck. She asks if Kazuhiko is her host. She calls him master, shocking Kazuhiko. Kazuhiko tries to calm down while wondering what has happened. What is going on? Is he being accosted by a glamorous ninja lady? The ninja girl says that she can feel his dirty gaze on her. She says she is his servant. She completely belongs to him. Kazuhiko asks her to introduce herself. The ninja girl apologizes for not introducing herself earlier. She says her name is Akane, and welcomes him in the difficulty, a dungeon, the Abyss. She suggests salvaging the world together. Akane says she is the manifestation of one of the 180 pillars built into the dungeon system. She has been tasked with welcoming the first person to enter the dungeon and crown them as its master. This body of hers, every inch of it will become the master's possession. Consequently, she has been trained in and have mastered all the arts of entertaining her master, and she can do whatever Kazuhiko asks her to do. She looks at him and realizing that he appears a bit angry, Akane says she can help Kazuhiko to calm down. Kazuhiko apologizes to Akane, stating he is still very confused. He says he is aware that it looks very bad for their first meeting and he is very sorry for that. He asks her to give him a minute. Kazuhiko steps forward towards Akane while trying to lay it all out for just a second. He has stumbled upon an underground space that came out of nowhere. He heard an unknown voice spout unintelligible gibberish, found some shiny cards, and now this mysterious beauty. Akane appeared. It doesn't seem like he is dreaming as he is aware of the surrounding very well. At this point, it didn't even occur to him as to why it all happened, because there is no point in thinking about it. For unpredictable situations like these, he must first gather as much information as possible. With that, Kazuhiko asks Akane that earlier, a mysterious voice said something about a dungeon system. He asks Akane if she knows what it means. Akane smiles, stating the dungeon system refers to one of the ruling bodies of the universe, the absolute law. Just as water flows from a higher plane into the bellow below, the dungeon system is the one that governs all, so please treat it as such. She adds that in the upcoming years, 666 dungeons will be created in this world. Each appearance will be random, appearing in 66 to 67 places at a time, which is repeated tenfold. Kazuhiko says he does remember the voice saying one more revolution is left. He then proceeds to ask the next question. He says that when he thinks of it, he always imagines a dungeon being a massive cave-like burrow, where countless ferocious monsters and beasts reside. He asks Akane what she thinks of his idea of a dungeon. Akane says he is correct. To be more accurate, it is like a different kind of domain compared to Kazuhiko's. Akane explains that the dungeons have a ranking system from F to S, and their distribution goes like for S there are only 7 in total. A's cover about 10%. Dungeons from B to D make up more than 70% of the dungeon population. The dungeon ranking determines a number of factors like their overall difficulty, the kind of monsters it has, and the quality of the reward to be gained. Kazuhiko asks about the rewards, to which Akane says they include things like water, food, and money. Its reward comprise of things this world needs to most, and in the advanced civilization they live in today, money often is the reward for their troubles. Kazuhiko asks if he can just fill in his pockets here. Akane agrees, saying for that reason, he must train to get stronger in order to have an equal footing against the monsters. She adds that the tools foreign to the dungeon are not allowed inside, so it would be impossible for any outside armed force to attempt to destroy the dungeon. Kazuhiko asks how is he supposed to compete with the monsters. Then, Akane tells Kazuhiko that he has been graced with the dungeon system, so he is eligible to obtain its perks. She opens the status sheet and tells Kazuhiko that he can view all his initial status. One of his benefits is that his card holding limit in the dungeon is infinite. Usually only 2 or 3 skill slots are available. However, Master is capable of using 6 slots, which is incredible. Kazuhiko asks if the outside tools are not allowed inside the dungeon. They then must rely on the combat skills. He asks if that is how this will work. Akane replies to Kazuhiko saying once he is inside the dungeon, he can also obtain cards for magical beats and more. She asks if he would like to perform a dive, but Kazuhiko says not yet as he needs to prepare for some essential things before diving first. He asks Akane to save this for later, until they get back to his place first. Akane says she only exists within the confines of the dungeon. If she were to go outside, she would return to her card form. Kazuhiko asks Akane to return back to her card form. Then, as he still has some business to do, Akane agrees and asks him to call her by her name. Kazuhiko also asks Akane to call him by his name and not Master, Lord, etc. He asks her to refer to his status board as well. Upon checking the status board, Kazuhiko is in shock as he has a F rank, the lowest rank that ever existed. Akane goes back to her card form. Kazuhiko picks up the card thinking so this card will pop out. Akane, that is the only plausible explanation he could think of. He wonders what is he supposed to do now. He goes back to his place and rests a little. He goes around with his normal routine. After completing all the chores, he thinks about the hole that appeared in the garden, and the girl that appeared from a card. He thinks that it all feels like a dream, making him wonder what is real anymore. Kazuhiko checks his phone and finds that he has no meetings tomorrow, so he can rest. Then there are 2 new cases the day after that. He looks at the watch wondering how should he spend the day today. Just then, he is shocked to see that the time on his watch and the phone are different. Kazuhiko realizes that he was wearing the watch when he entered the dungeon. While he left his phone in the living room, he talked to Akane for about 20 minutes or so. but according to his phone, it says only about a few minutes have passed. He wonders if the watch is broke, but he comes to the conclusion somehow that the time has flown differently. He takes out his 2 watches and the phone, thinking the time on his phone and the watch he is wearing is different. Based on that, he is going to start testing his hypothesis. He thinks that the time must flow differently between here and inside the dungeon. His phone displays the time now as 10 in the morning, but the watch he wore shows that nearly 30 minutes have already passed. With that, Kazuhiko attaches a thread on the other watch and hands it in the dungeon. Like that, he can find out whether or not there is a difference in time. He decides to begin his test and drop the watch with the string in the dungeon for about a minute. Then he will compare the time with the watch he is wearing. He wonders how could just 1 minute really differ from one another. If it does differ, what could be the possible applications of it? When Kazuhiko lowers the watch in the dungeon, he is shook to his core. The second hand is suddenly moving like crazy. He decides to put the watch a little deeper into the dungeon. After a minute, he takes out the watch to see the results. It turns out only minute has passed on the watch that was outside the dungeon. However, the one he lowered into the dungeon entrance has passed 2 hours. He thinks that the clock hand earlier spun around so fast. Time in the dungeon flows much faster compared to the outside world, assuming that's the direction the clock is going. He decides to ask Akane about it later. So after some time, Kazuhiko goes back in the dungeon and asks Akane about the time difference. Akane responds by saying here on the first level is what is called He Safe Zone. Time passes at 144 times the rate than it does on Earth. To put it simply, a person can spend 6 days inside the dungeon, but return to the surface and find only an hour has passed. Kazuhiko realizes that this place is really detached from the old world. Akane adds that the dungeon and the surface don't share the same passage of time. It is an entirely different space and is also a single individual life form in itself. The whole concept is something immeasurable by human knowledge. Kazuhiko says at first he thought the dungeon was some sort of a shelter, but it turns out this place is situated in an entirely different space. Akane agrees and says she hopes her answers are significant, and that he will spend his time as he pleases. She adds that this is a safe zone as monsters are not able to infiltrate it. Kazuhiko didn't know about the concept of a safe zone or that the monsters could not come here. Akane says unless Kazuhiko chooses to go further inside, there won't be any monsters here. Therefore, there won't be any problems at all if he spends all his days exploring the depths of depravity. Or that is just one way to spend his time. Kazuhiko says that this dungeon which popped out of nowhere in his garden, as of now no one really knows about it except him. He asks Akane what she meant by save the world earlier. Akane explains that if humanity is unable to defeat 666 dungeons in the span of 10 years, if a dungeon can't be conquered, monsters will proceed to cascade out. A great monster stampede will occur, and it will envelop and devour the entirety of this world. Worried, Kazuhiko asks Akane if this all have been averted, if he hadn't stumbled across this. Akane says certainly, it would look that way, as he was deemed the first contact by the dungeon system. But there's nothing to be done but to lament over what has already happened. She says it wouldn't be a problem if he defeats all the dungeons by the 11th year. With that, she asks what will be Kazuhiko's next move. The fate of the world rests on Kazuhiko's actions, and misstep and it could be destroyed. Kazuhiko stands there in front of Akane, asking himself what will be his play. Akane says that the monster stampede simply means that all the monsters from the uncleared dungeons will rush out all at once, in a never-ending tide. She asks once more how will Kazuhiko deal with this since everything is in his hands now. Trembling with shock, Kazuhiko asks for assurance from Akane if monsters will spill out and destroy Hiko world if the dungeons won't be conquered within the next 11 years. Akaki agrees, saying she doesn't really know how because her memories have been erased, but she doesn't know that countless civilizations have been wiped out this way. Kazuhiko thinks that he needs to calm down and think about what to do next, since running away is not an option. He wonders how should he solve this problem. Should he call the police or the government? Would they believe him? Even if they believe him, many people would have realized that the world might end relatively soon. If he tried to live while ignoring the fact that he was the person who triggered the whole phenomenon, he think all the stress and guilt would crush him. If that is the case, he will have to take the initiative. He tells Akane that he needs to verify that he was in fact the first contact. He also needs to find the other dungeons. He doesn't know how he will be able to find them all, but first he needs to remodel the dungeon. They will call it Dungeon DIY. With that, Kurohiko gets out of the dungeon and begins his dungeon DIY. He puts some nails around it, then goes out to buy some stuff and people notice him being busy today. Kazuhiko apologizes to his neighbors for the noise. He lies that recently he had a bad experience with a raccoon. Yamada is amazed by Kazuhiko's skills and says she might ask him to fix his wardrobe next time. He looks at Yamada with a smile while trembling from fear inside. If he doesn't conquer the 666 dungeons, Monster Stampede will begin. Now that the dungeon system has started, humanity is one step closer to complete annihilation. He goes back to the yard since the first dungeon opened up in his backyard, and the entrance to the dungeon is on his property. That means it is still his until he surrenders it to the police. If he turns this place into a workspace, the workflow will be more efficient while clearing the dungeon. Anyway, now all that is left is to get ready. He spent the last 2 days creating a DIY dungeon. With that, he goes inside and summons Akane. He never thought that his first command would be a foot massage. Akane agrees without any hesitation to give a foot massage since he saved her. Kazuhiko has managed to cover the entrance with a plastic trap, but he hasn't finished the desk over there. As Akane massages Kazuhiko's foot, she says she never thought that he would turn the safe space into an office. None of his previous masters did something like this. Kazuhiko says he thought a bed would be good to rest on before going into the dungeon. Once Akane is done with the foot massage, she asks Kazuhiko to ask her for more stuff. She says she can make him feel fulfilled and happy with her hands and stuff, but Kazuhiko simply declines the offer, stating he will ask for it later. Kazuhiko is a bit embarrassed. He asked for a foot massage to test her ability, and was pleasantly surprised. A beautiful female ninja tasked as the dungeon guide who has the skill of satisfying anyone. It might be even better if he was interested in all that. Kazuhiko says he feels more relaxed now. Akane asks what should they plan on doing next, as she wants to be prepared. Kazuhiko says since the dungeon appeared on his property, only he is allowed to enter, and that includes this room. He says she can make it look however she likes. Akane agrees and they decide to change the room a bit. Kazuhiko says it might look even better if she put up some nice wallpapers. He would also feel comfortable with some laminated floors and a sofa. Akane asks Kazuhiko if he would even bring a sofa here. He agrees, saying it would be nice if she could also relax a bit. Akane is impressed by Kazuhiko's concerns for her. She comes closer to him and says she can't believe he would go that far for her. She is moved to tears. But Kazuhiko isn't impressed by her beauty at all. Without flinching a little, he says he is glad she liked it, but he needs to get back to work now, and she is quite a distraction in that form. Annoyed, Akane says okay fine, she will be off then. After getting some work done, Kazuhiko thinks that Akane looks mad before she leaves. It will be impossible for him to conquer 666 dungeons on his own. He will need a reliable group of friends that can help him. However, notifying the public about a possible mass extinction would just create chaos. The emergence of the dungeons every month is going to cause mayhem on a global scale. He guesses he needs to make his move at just the right time. He believes that this safe zone is essential, so he will make this his base for aiming at the dungeons. With that said, Kazuhiko brings all his essentials in the safe zone: cut-resistant vest, long-sleeve shirt, cut-resistant trousers, goggles, military gloves, dust-proof mask, safety boots, helmet, flashlight, shock-proof wristwatch, waterproof travel bag, and whatnot. He believes he has everything he needs to explore the dungeon. Akane asks Kazuhiko if he has something he can use as a tool to compete with the monsters. Kazuhiko says the tools are the cards, so he won't be carrying any additional weight. He says he also wanted to bring a gas mask, but apparently he can do so without knowing what gas it would be. Akane says she will take care of that. She adds that the air inside of the dungeon is generally non-poisonous. Some traps use poison gas, but the gas will naturally dissipate if he simply waits a little. Kazuhiko wears his goggle, and with that he and Akane decide to begin the dungeon exploration. The two go inside the dungeon when Kazuhiko says it is brighter than he had expected. The air feels so clean, he doesn't even need a mask. But Akane tells him that it is because he is near the safe zone. It is also why there aren't any monsters here. As they are walking, Kazuhiko notices Akane. He thinks that she is very good looking. Ever since their first meeting, she has been really polite, very dedicated, and makes him feel assured. He wonders what would happen if he asked her to wear heels. Just then, Akane stops him and says she can feel his gaze all over her. Kazuhiko apologizes, saying he is a bit distracted. Akane says he can think whatever he wants, as it is fine by her. Kazuhiko says he expected to find monsters sooner, so he is a little disappointed. Akane says in most cases the monsters that appear on the first floor are weak enough for humans to defeat with their bare hands. That said, this is an A-rank dungeon, so there is really no telling what might occur. Kazuhiko says he will be careful. He adds that they should start mapping out the area as well, but Akane says that won't be necessary since she is the legendary card. Akane, there is no way she would get lost. She says she can feel monsters drawing close and asks Kazuhiko to be careful. With that said, they encounter their first monster, a goblin. Akane explains that goblins are one of the weaker types of monsters in the dungeons. They are only the size of a small child, and can be found alone or in groups. Kazuhiko agrees, saying the goblins are very small, only 1 meter tall at most. He asks if they take advantage of that to get closer or sneak aim. Before Akane could respond, a goblin marches at him and chews on his arms. Kazuhiko throws the goblin away, but he has already been injured. He realizes that the goblin is as strong as a dog when it bites. He believes he can certainly handle this, and with that he beats the goblin with his bare hands. Once the goblin is gone, a coin of 500 is left on the floor. Surprised, Kazuhiko wonders if the goblin just dropped money. Akane congratulates Kazuhiko, saying it seems like this dungeon is the type that drops money. That is the reward for defeating monsters. She asks how it feels to unearth a dungeon monster. Kazuhiko stares at Akane a bit, then says for the first time, it felt surprisingly good to unearth his first monster. Akane is glad to hear that. She further explains that in most dungeons, the first floor is designed to be the easiest to lure more people in. Normally that means bugs or slimes that can be unearthed by a single stomp of a foot, but this is an A-rank dungeon, so it is throwing goblins at them right from the very start. She compliments Kazuhiko, and says he is a lot stronger than she thought. She is quite impressed that he unearthed that goblin with just one punch. Kazuhiko says it is all thanks to these little beauties that he is wearing. Akane asks if that is a pair of brass knuckles, but Kazuhiko says he calls them a tool to protect his fingers, and the dungeon agrees since they have been classed as armor and not tools. Believes that he can handle this. Akane is happy to know that he found a loophole. She expects no less from him. They decide to keep going further and keep unearthing more goblins along their way. 3 hours later, they are done with the goblin, apparently. Akane asks Kazuhiko what he thinks about the first floor since they have seen most of the first floor. She asks if he would like to go back and get some rest. But Kazuhiko says if they are done here, he would like to see the second floor. He says he didn't notice the first floor was laid out in a grid pattern until now. It was easier than he had expected. The first floor of the A-rank dungeon, Abyss, was 800 meters long and had a grid-like pattern of passages. At the far right, he found the stairs leading to the second floor. Akane says she wouldn't recommend going up to the second floor yet. She adds that he should try to advance to E-rank first on this floor because most dungeons tend to raise their danger levels significantly once he gets to the second floor. Kazuhiko agrees with Akane and decides to train a little more on his way back. They will come back after they rest a bit in the safe zone. Once they reach the safe zone, Kazuhiko takes out the cards to find the goblin cards in them too. Akane explains that this is a monster card, another possible reward for defeating the monsters. With this, he can summon goblins inside the dungeon. Kazuhiko says that from what he has learned, it is possible to get up to 2 cards for every 100 months unearthed. So he has got exactly 10 cards right now. Suddenly, the status window appears, making Kazuhiko wonder why it appeared out of nowhere. He finds a card Gacha in the status window, and wonders if he can pull Gacha with just 10 monster cards. He questions what would happen if Akane was used for Gacha. Akane looks at Kazuhiko, asking if he wouldn't sacrifice her just to pull some random skill. Kazuhiko apologizes and says he was just thinking out loud. He would never let her go unless he is unearthed or conquers the entire dungeon. Akane is very pleased with his words. Kazuhiko says that the average drop rate for cards is about 2 to 3%, so to get 10 more cards he will have to unearth 500 goblins. He wonders what should he do next. Should he just touch the screen with these cards and decide to do it? And within a matter of a few seconds, the screen begins to change. After the screen complete modification, Kazuhiko finds that there are 4 gacha categories: character, tool, equipment, and item. He wonders if he can use the tools and equipment he gets from the gacha. Akane agrees, saying that if he wants to bring them to the surface, he will have to make them materialize here in the dungeon first. Kazuhiko is a bit surprised to hear this. He clicks on one of the categories of gacha and a card appears out of it. Kazuhiko finds it a waste of time as the card says C, which is common. He wonders if there are also UC, R, SR, UR, and LR for uncommon, rare, ultra rare, and legend rare. Akane explains that this is a poison. He can drink it like cold medicine, and it can also heal scratches and bruises in the blink of an eye. She asks Kazuhiko not to be discouraged, since he only got a common card on his first try. She adds that he doesn't need any potions for scratches. All he needs to do is ask her, and she will be glad to lick the scratches for him. Kazuhiko looks at Akane and gets shy. He reminds her not to be so close to him. He is a man after all. He feels something and blushes. Akane says she has been noticing his raging desire for a while, and asks him not to hold back anymore. She asks him to be free and fulfill all his desires. Kazuhiko moves Akane from his way. He then tells her that he is still an F rank, and he is competing with his bare hands. He asks her to hold on until he can get a little bit stronger, which makes Akane smile. She asks him to make sure he reserves some time for her soon, until one of them is unearthed, so no matter what happens, she will always be by his side. In the last few days, Kazuhiko has defeated 500 goblins, and they have dropped 5,53,500 yen coins. In total, that is 2,76,500 yen. Kazuhiko looks at the money and wonders if he considers this as an income, then what should he do with the taxes? He explains to Akane that in Japan he is required to declare the source of his income to the government. He wonders if he should exchange it in the bank and put it in his account. He wonders how should he explain the money he got in the dungeon. It is too hard to use. For now, instead of relying on this money, he will continue his consulting work and focus on conquering the dungeon. With that, Kazuhiko decides to get ready for his consulting business. As he is getting ready, he notices that his shirt and belt are a bit loose, making him wonder if he lose weight. But Akane says it might be because of the strengthening factor. Upon asking, she explains that the strengthening factor is the smoke that monsters produce when defeated. If he absorbs the smoke into his body and trains his body, he will experience dramatic growth. It will increase muscle strength, reflex speed, and cell regeneration. Kazuhiko says he feels a change in the quality of his muscles while clenching his wrist. He says that if he looks too skinny, he won't look dignified as a consultant. He decides to leave for work while Akane wishes him the best of luck for the trip. Outside, Kazuhiko meets with his childhood friend Ideomoto. Ideomoto asks Kazuhoki if he has lost some weight, to which Kazuhiko says he has been doing a bit of exercising. Ideomoto says he envies him for becoming slimmer. They had discussed something earlier, so Kazuhiko gave Ideomoto the training plans and Kara grant application forms. He says with this the subsidies should be granted. Ideomoto says these sure are the complaints from smoking from the part-timers. He would recommend separating smoking areas in the restaurants. Kazuhiko likes the idea and decides to hold a meeting with the next manager to discuss it. After that, Ideomoto offers Kazuhiko to become one of their executives. He says he can trust him with the management. Kazuhiko says he is glad to hear the offer, but he prefers to be a lone wolf. Amato says that he would rely on him again if needed to, which Kazuhiko gladly agrees. Later he comes back from work and does some work. Kazuhiko thinks that doing a desk in the dungeon is efficient. He wonders if he should put a bed in here too. Having an item box like in a light novel would be nice too. Just then Akane interrupts him, stating he already has that by appearing from behind. Kazuhiko asks Akane not to appear from behind him. Akane is explaining something when Kazuhiko gazes at Akane. She realizes what is happening, and decides to move closer to Kazuhiko. She sits on the lap, to which Kazuhiko says if she keeps inviting him like this, he might end up losing it all. Akane replies saying it would make her happy. She adds that she has been waiting for his kindness. She has been aching, struggling to control himself. Kazuhiko asks Akane to get off. He has finished his work, so that is all for today. After that they discuss the light novel. Kazuhiko explains to Akane about the light novel that he can draw 11 times for every 10 gacha draws. Kazuhiko says he will try to gather enough goblin cards for 10 draws. Akane says he will get 1 card for every 50 goblins, and he needs 10 cards to draw once. Then he will have to unearth 5,000 goblins. She asks if he would be fine with that. Kazuhiko says he is fine, since at this pace he can unearth 100 goblins in 2 hours. To unearth 5,000 goblins will require 100 hours. He will take a 30-minute break every 4 hours, and get 8 hours of sleep every 18 hours. This means that the time spent competing is 16 hours, so he will have to do it 6 times. He does some more crazy maths, and concludes that he needs to spend 148 hours inside the dungeon. Taking a shower and recharging his phone along the way should be doable in 4 hours above ground. Akane confirms if Kazuhiko is going to keep unearthing goblins for 148 hours. Kazuhiko agrees, saying they need to experiment and determine how often he ranks up. The efficiency of the extermination is important after all. He has brought towels and an air mattress, so they should start testing it right away. Akane agrees, and with that the two set off to go inside the dungeon and unearth as many goblins as possible. Kazuhiko tries out some aiming ways and realizes that while running, when he adds a kick and a punch, the goblin flows quite far, and these two aiming techniques are the quickest way to defeat them. He decides to try 4 sets of this. After some more beating, it takes 110 minutes for Kazuhiko to defeat the goblins. He realizes that he has gotten a bit faster at this. As expected, after unearthing 100 goblins, 2 cards drop. But still, no rank up. He wonders how many more goblins he needs to defeat so that he can rank up. Kazuhiko repeats the same process, while Akane looks at the card wondering if Kazuhiko is unearthing 100 goblins in 2 hours, then he is going to repeat this process 500 times. This is the first time she has seen someone think about efficiency in theory while aiming. To achieve his goal, he executes, verifies, and improves. She has never had a mazer like this before. Once Kazuhiko is done with unearthing the goblins for the time, he decides to have a meal with Akane. Akane is more than delighted as she never thought she would be able to have such luxury. Kazuhiko explains that these days there is a wide selection of survival food, and they taste great. While eating, he wonders why the card drop rate hasn't changed today either. He thinks he should probably do a few more rounds. Kazuhiko tells Akane that after they eat the food he will take the 8-hour break, and once he is back above ground he will take a bath. The two go back to the dungeon to unearth some more goblin. As Kazuhiko is beating a goblin, it flies far away with just one punch. Shocked, he tells Akane about it. Just then his status window pops up which shows his rank has been upgraded to E. Akane congratulates Kazuhiko for the success. He asks about the term empty on the window. Akane explains that in the first place, skills are acquired from skill orbs obtained in the dungeon, or through many years of experience. She says seeing empty lists is a first for her. Kazuhiko is a bit concerned but decides to check his skills later. He adds that now that he has reached the E rank, he will have to do the calculations again. This irritates Akane and she asks if they have to do math once more. And like that, the two go back to the safe zone. Akane asks Kazuhiko if he has finished his meal, to which he agrees. She asks if he will be resting for the day, but Kazuhiko says he will have a look at his new empty skill slot. Akane sits closer to where Kazuhiko is lying down on the sofa. She takes his head and puts it on her lap. She then asks if this new skill slot he obtained from the rank up. Kazuhiko agrees and tries to focus on the status screen, but cannot do it because Akane blocking his sight. So Akane looks it on Kazuhiko's behalf. She tells Kazuhiko that stuff like swordsmanship, spearmanship, and martial arts have appeared in the empty skill slot. Kazuhiko says he thinks he can choose any skill from these. He looks around the skills when he realizes that these skills are available only after he meets certain conditions. If he touches it with his fingers, a description appears just like in a game that explains the rules. Akane asks if he would like to try out martial arts. She says that combat has been primarily focused on physical aiming so far. With martial arts, he can make use of his experience. Kazuhiko agrees, saying it is true, but it is off the table. He says he will have to deal with 666 dungeons all over the world. The key isn't his strength but the power of the group. What he needs is 6 skill that can form and unite a group. Akane is happy to see that Kazuhiko is considering the future as well. Kazuhiko suggests finding out what other skills are available, since each must have its traits. Later he goes back to his house and takes a long heated shower. As he is about to finish showering, Kazuhiko thinks that by showering above ground and sleeping in the dungeon, he will have to get used to managing time. And since there is no sunlight, he will have to think about nutrition. As he is planning what to do next, the doorbell rings. He goes to check on the door, to find a cute girl standing in front of him. It turns out to be the girl for her part-time job. The girl comes inside the house. She asks about the more than usual garbage. She also points out that there are so many pre-made meals. She says that it is bad for his health if he doesn't eat well. Kazuhiko apologizes to the girl named Mari Kintushi. She is his relative, and after her parents divorced 3 years ago, she moved back to her hometown in Edogawa City. Since Mari returned, she has been coming over once a week to do errands, as a part-time job. Kazuhiko tells Mari that there are some circumstances behind all this. He asks her not to question about the details. Mari says she isn't going to tell mom about this. Kazuhiko looks at his watch, realizing there is a problem now. He was planning on going back into the dungeon, but he can't exactly enter, now that Mari's here. He believes he will have to put today's testing on the shelf. Mari stares at Kazuhiko, and asks if he has lost weight since he looks slimmer. Taken aback by the sudden questioning, Kazuhiko says he is the same as ever. He says he has started a new job which pays better, so he will increase her pay as well. Mari is happy to hear that since they have a school trip in October, so she is grateful her pay will increase. Mari's family has been in a difficult financial situation since the divorce. The best Kazuhiko can do as a relative is increase her allowance like this. He asks Mari about her grandma, to which she replies saying grandma doesn't seem to be doing well. She probably needs to be hospitalized, but that costs money. Her mom is also having a hard time, so she was thinking about quitting high school for work. Kazuhiko doesn't like this idea of Mari. He says she should properly finish high school and go to school. He says he will manage the money somehow. He says he will have to talk to her mom, Shiori, about this. Mari thanks Kazuhiko for his help. She adds that her mom Shiori feels bad since she is relying on him so much. To ease them at once, Kazuhiko says he wants Mari to help him with his new job. It won't take long, and it would put her mom at ease as well. Mari asks if it is some naughty job. Annoyed, Kazuhiko calls Mari an idiot and asks what she thinks he does for a living. He asks Mari not to overthink since he will support her. Mari is more than happy and thanks Kazuhiko for his help. After Mari completes the work for the day, Kazuhiko appreciates Mari for her job and gives her 8,000 to 10,000 yen as her increased pay. With Mari leaving to go back home, Kazuhiko thinks he will tell Mari when the time is right. The next day, Kazuhiko is training himself. Yesterday he got a UC card from the tool Gacha, so today he decides to use the steel spear he got. Akane asks if Kazuhiko completed yesterday's work, to which he agrees, saying he got some ideas on how to use the money from the dungeon, and he is thinking of practicing his tool with the time he has left today. With that, he goes inside the dungeon's first floor and unearths the goblins like usual, just that this time, he is using the tool he got from the gacha. Akane asks Kazuhiko how is his spear handling. Kazuhiko says he is getting the hang of using it with both and one hand. He has hunted all the goblins and suggests going to the second floor, and like that the two go to the second floor for the very first time. Kazuhiko says it feels like monsters can appear right away once he descends to the second floor. He asks if there is no safe zone here. Akane replies saying she thinks there should be one somewhere on the second floor, and there should also be a teleportation array back to the first floor. Kazuhiko looks around the second floor and says it looks like a light novel, but a maze on the second floor as expected of an A-rank dungeon. However, it is meaningless in front of Akane. As they are walking forward, Kazuhiko encounters his first monster from the second floor, which turns out to be a D-rank monster, Orc. Kazuhiko is a bit surprised to see a new monster already coming their way. Akane is also shocked to see a D-rank monster appear on the second floor. She tries to protect Kazuhiko and asks him to run away while the Orc marches at them. She calls the Orc a filthy creature and comes forward to beat it. With just a few slashes, the Orc is unearthed, leaving behind a 1,000 yen bill. Akane tells Kazuhiko that this is unexpected. She had expected E-rank monsters to appear, but for a D-rank Orc to appear, she thinks they should go back to the first floor and think of a plan. Kazuhiko finds it the perfect situation to test the difference between the gacha. Akane doesn't like this idea, and she states the Orcs are dangerous. They have great physical strength and can easily unearth a human, but Kazuhiko says that Orcs seem to drop 1,000 yen bills. If he hunts 100 of them, that is 100,000 yen, and continuously competing with them will make him stronger as well, so he will do it. They come across yet another gigantic Orc. Kazuhiko thinks he has a spear that is almost 3 meters long. First he will stab the Orc's guts and then aim for its head. However, to his surprise, the Orc punches him in the face, making him fly away while Akane stands there in shock. She quickly runs to check up on Kazuhiko. She takes out a potion and give it to him. Quickly Kazuhiko recovers and asks Akane if she gave him some potions. Akane agrees and apologizes for using 2 of them, but Kazuhiko says she saved him so it was the right decision. He says he chose the wrong tool as he lost consciousness in an instant. After mustering up the courage, he decides to complete with the Orc again. Kazuhiko comes forward thinking for an Orc. A club is the way. When the Orc aims, they put their weight on their knees, which means he can crush their knees. Kazuhiko assures himself that there is nothing to be afraid of. As expected, the Orc bends down to aim at Kazuhiko and puts all his weight on his knees. When it is his weakened and Kazuhiko unearths the Orc. After that they go back to the first floor, safe zone. Akane and Kazuhiko discuss that to defeat a D-rank Orc on the first try. At this rate they can move on to the third floor soon. Let's just forget that he got bodied just now. Akane says she doesn't want to go through today's experience again. She asks Kazuhiko not to overexert himself. Kazuhiko agrees and decides to stay on the second floor for a while, and he will advance to D rank. Akane says Kazuhiko is finally challenging the limits of human potential. Kazuhiko asks if the F rank is for ordinary people, and E rank for the athletes, and D rank is for peerless competitors and legendary warriors. He adds that ever since reaching E rank he can defeat goblins in one shot, but Orcs are tough. He will need to strengthen his body with supplements in the strengthening factor. He decides to aim for a rank up and move on to the next stage. After some more practicing, Akane asks Kazuhiko if he is still going to work above ground, since they have defeated 6,000 goblins at this point, and they have saved quite a lot of money. Kazuhiko agrees, saying this world is an information society. If he has a lot of money, the government will check its sources. To use the money from the dungeon, it is better to continue working during the day. But yes, the amount of money has gotten quite big. He wonders if he should consult Iwamoto about it. With that, he goes to see his childhood friend again. Iwamoto says that regarding the exchange there is no problem, and it saves them some trouble too, and a real estate company, he thinks. He says a company they do business with is also working out a land sale, but that will cost him money. Kazuhito says he doesn't mind that. Instead, he is willing to buy all the land in cash in a lump sum. Iwamoto says for that reason he called him out of nowhere. It is quite a positive story. He asks for surety from Kazuhiko that it is not some problematic money, which Kazuhiko denies. He asks what would Iwamoto do if he found a cave with money flowing out of it. Iwamoto says that is not something Kazuhiko would say. He says if it were him, he would first check if the money was real, then whether it is real or not he would inform the police. If he couldn't report it to the police, he would ignore it, and if he needed the money he would just consider it as income. However, it is hard to spend if it is in the hundreds of millions of yen. Kazuhiko also agrees with Iwamoto's statement. Iwamoto says he has a contact in the field. He adds he will tell Kazuhiko just because he is his childhood friend. He states that by circulating it in private virtual currency markets thousands of times they make it untraceable. Eventually they transfer it to bank accounts as consulting fees. This whole thing is called money laundering, and some people in Japan are familiar with this method. Kazuhiko thanks his friend and says he will look into it next time. Meanwhile, he also keeps thinking that it is not something praiseworthy, but if things continue like this, the world will end in 10 years. To avoid that, he will do anything. With that said, Kazuhiko meets with some people for the contract. He gives them a bag to which the other person asks for 10% commission, if it is more than 100 million yen. He says the rest will be laundered and transferred from multiple companies. Kazuhiko asks if it will be fine if the paper companies are exposed, but the guy says there is no problem in that area. He then decides to meet after a month. With that, Kazuhiko realizes that there is no turning back now. He needs to brace himself. In New York, some policemen are investigating some reports when they encounter an opening to the earth. It seems like another dungeon has come out. In the White House, the President Ronald Howard is talking about America being put first in everything. He says he has heard some fools are aiming at their beloved nation. Just then, a guard tells the president that they are being aimed for sure. 2 unknown caves with different time flows have appeared in their country. He adds that they are still investigating, but reports have been coming in that unknown creatures have appeared. President asks about how the time flows differently. The guy says approximately 140 minutes or so, but they yet have to measure it precisely. President Ronald says that America must not be scared and warned by any kind of danger. They must investigate these occurrences thoroughly. On the other hand, in Tokyo, somewhere in Osaka, Umeda, a guy and a girl are busy talking in the car. Just then, yet another hole emerges from the ground as the two talk about not sleeping tonight. In Nagatacho, a picture of a monster is shown, and some ask what they think about it. They think it is some kobold from manga. It looks like something from a light novel. They are shaken to know that something like this was seen in the real world. A guy explains that last week, a sinkhole appeared in an underground parking lot in Ueda, Osaka. 2 police officers who rushed to the scene were aimed at the creature in the photo. One of the policemen was unearthed in the line of duty, and the other was seriously injured. Moreover, the day before yesterday, riot police tried to enter, but their tools turned into cards, and they were aimed by the same creature, resulting in injuries. People wonder if it is some kind of opposition by the extremists, but the other guy says that there is no movement from any religious or leftist groups. Even if it were, what would be the meaning of such a large-scale operation? They asked if there was any movement from overseas. One of the men says that the inquiries from the USA report show similar strange caves appearing in New York and Chicago. No damage has been confirmed yet, like in Japan. The main lead asks if there is anything from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but the people tell him there is nothing yet being reported regarding the issue. They decide to check with the ASEAN Association of Southeast Asian Countries. Meanwhile, the 98th-generation Prime Minister Seiichiro Urabe is also discussing how to proceed with caution in this situation. He says that if this is some opposition, it would be a global opposition organization they are unaware of. The problem is that nothing is known. If it is some unknown natural disaster, chaos will be inevitable. He suggests hurrying up and reporting this problem to the United Nations. On the other hand, in Tokyo, Edagawa Kazuhiko is listening to the news, which says that in the current situation, they are coordinating with ASEAN countries to investigate further. Additionally, in response to this confusion, the government is taking some actions. Kazuhiko says it seems there are people being unearthed. The whole world is in a state of panic. With the appearance of the dungeons, some people are demanding to be let in, even though it is very dangerous. Akane says such fools have to learn the hard way. They won't be any help to Kazuhiko at all. Kazuhiko says what he is looking for are comrades who vow to conquer the dungeons together with him. Members of the Dungeon Conquest specialized company are what he is thinking about building. Akane asks if they should start gathering comrades right away. Kazuhiko suggests seeing how the world reacts first. In the Dungeon Busters, they need people with a steadfast mind, comrades who can compete not just for themselves but for others as well. Mari's mother's name is Shiori Kanuchi. She was born and raised in Osugi Edogawa-ku in a happy family. The turning point in her life was when she was about to have a baby, Mari, while she was in high school. She married her boyfriend at the time, but they got separated soon after. She has to raise Mari on her own. In the midst of that, his second cousin Kazuhiko visited and asked if Mari could work part-time at his place. Kazuhiko, who was 6 years older than her, hired Mari, who was in middle school, for 30,000 yen a month. Since then, 3 years have passed. Mari comes back home from Kazuhiko's place. Shiori asks Mari if she was polite while working, to which Mari agrees. She also tells Shiori that Kazuhiko raised her pay. She adds that Kazuhiko says he will introduce her to a job where she can earn even more. Shiori asks if the job is not strange, which might involve filming and all, but Mari replies saying Kazuhiko says it isn't like that. He said that he will show her the place next time. Shiori says they will talk about this later. She asks Mari to have a bath first. On the other hand, Kazuhiko confirms the contract and decides to relax a bit. He has also confirmed the 3 million yen in cash. He will transfer the 270 million yen, after the 10% to the specified account. He does some last confirmation using his laptop and decides to call it a day. Laying down, Kazuhiko thinks that after taxes, the amount will be half of 270 million yen. He realizes that he will need some more funding. With that, he goes out to run some errands after some time. As he is driving, something comes in front of his car. Concerned, Kazuhiko wonders if something got injured or something. However, as he comes out of the car, he realizes that a new dungeon has been formed on the road to Osaka. The second wave has finally come. People question what this hole is. They ask others to hurry up and call the police. Kazuhiko goes closer to the dungeon and checks his time on the watch. The dungeon has been confirmed on the new Yokohama road. A girl says that if this is a dungeon, the flow of time should be different. She tells Kazuhiko that if he dives in a little, he will come out right away. Kazuhiko looks at the stone dungeon, wondering how different it would be from Abyss. Kazuhiko goes inside and then looks back to realize the people are waiting. For others, it must look like he went down in an instant. He looks around the dungeon's safe zone. He goes forward and opens the door, wondering what will appear in front of him. To his surprise, he sees a rabbit standing in front of him on the other side of the door. Initially, Kazuhiko cannot understand this since rabbits are cute, but when that rabbit yells like crazy, Kazuhiko says that is how it should be. He beats the rabbit and defeats it in an instant. However, he gets confused since no money is dropped this time. Instead, a gem can be seen lying on the floor. He takes the stone with him and decides to ask Akane about it. With that, he goes back outside where people ask when he came back. As expected, it seems to people on the surface that he returned in an instant. Kazuhiko assures people saying there doesn't seem to be any danger as long as someone doesn't enter. But people start yelling and saying that this is probably the same dungeon as the one that appeared in the Umeda parking lot a month ago. Kazuhiko says as long as no one gets too close, they will be fine. He then asks the people to contact the police. Angry, someone asks who is Kazuhiko to give them orders like this, but Kazuhiko says he is the one responsible for eradicating the dungeon that appears. He takes out his card and lets the world know that he is the owner of the Dungeon Busters. Kazuhiko goes back to the Abyss and shows the stone to Akane. Akane explains that this is a magic stone that is simply crystallized magic power. Usually magic can only be used by those with talent, but anyone can use magic by using a magic tool that uses magic stones. Dungeons rewards are what a world needs the most. Earth doesn't use magic, so it is strange for magic stones to appear. Kazuhiko says magic stones must be essential for civilizations that have developed magical technologies. However, he wonders why have they appeared here on Earth, which has developed scientific technology. Akane asks Kazuhiko what the people of this country and the world need the most. She thinks that is the answer. With that, they go to the third floor of the dungeon, Abyss. There, Kazuhiko competes with D-rank monsters. Skeleton Knight. Akane is pleased to see how efficiently Kazuhiko is completing. She says the skeleton knights carry swords and are always in groups of 4, so he needs to be careful not to get surrounded by them. They are weaker than an orc but worth 4,000 yen. She says their choice of tool works in Kazuhiko's favor. Until he encounters orcs again, she thinks that he won't have to worry much. Kazuhiko defeats the skeleton knights and earns the rewards. He says it is going better than he expected. He decides to add weights while hunting from tomorrow. He will put some strain on himself and rank up. The simultaneous worldwide dungeon manifestation phenomenon is the name given by scholars to the phenomenon in which dungeons all over the world at once. The UN held numerous general meetings, and governments of various countries were busy responding. Some are that their country has 25 dungeons within its borders. They need financial proportion to the number of dungeons. But the other person says that this is because their country has a large territory and population. He asks if the country can manage things with its funds. The ambassador of the United States of America asks everyone to stop talking. She says their country is concerned about the bias of where the dungeons appear. Compared to America, the People's Republic of China has many dungeons. Shouldn't they consider that it is proportional to the population, and not the land? Another ambassador says that their country is smaller than Japan, but dungeons appeared in 2 places, Manila and the capital. He thinks that the American ambassador is correct. Their country does not want to bear any more security risks. To combat the dungeons, they demand the withdrawal of troops deployed at national borders and seas from all UN member countries. The China's ambassador asks the other ambassadors not to be absurd. Since the South China Sea is their territorial waters, if they want them to pull back, they should recognize their sovereignty. Another ambassador also argues that if they withdraw their troops from the borders, they might be invaded from the north. For security, they must leave at least a minimum amount of troops. One of the ambassadors gets angry and asks everyone not to be absurd. Dungeons are appearing in their country as well. Now is the time for cooperation and lifting the sanctions against their country. Someone silences everyone and says they must take immediate action against the current situation. Meanwhile, in the US White House, someone informs the president that the demands regarding the disclosure of information about dungeons are growing stronger every day. There have been demonstrations in Chicago, the Dow Jones average has plummeted, and at this rate Congress will have no choice but to act. But President Ronald is confused about the tools turning into cards as soon as they enter the dungeon. He asks who would believe such a thing. He would prefer blowing up the entire dungeon. He says that the Speaker of the House of Representatives is understanding, but the Democratic Party members are not uniting. Even if their country discloses information, he wonders if the public would believe it. It would become a diplomatic issue. The guy suggests announcing it jointly with other world leaders at the group table conference. Dungeon countermeasures will likely be on the agenda at the upcoming group table meeting in Nagoya. They should disclose the information about the dungeons in a joint statement by the developed countries. The president likes the idea and asks the guy to contact Seichiro right now. Meanwhile, Kazuhiko is busy competing with the skeleton knights all on his own. He takes 300 skeleton knights all together while Akane asks him to be careful and not get surrounded. He unearths 45 skeleton knights in 45 minutes. He hopes that this will earn him a lot. He says that at this rate, with the current cycle, it is 1.6 million yen. That is 36 million yen in 1 day of Earth time. Akane says he will have to defeat 200,000 skeleton knights in 6 days. She asks how much he plans to complete. Just then, a notification voice comes out of nowhere and congratulates Kazuhiko for the racial limit break confirmation. As the first to achieve this feat, the legendary card, Cheeky Emily, will be presented. It then asks Kazuhiko to aim for an existence limit break. Shocked, he asks what is existence limit break, and wonder if this is Akane's voice. Soon, a new cute girl pops out of a card. The girl, Emily, asks what are they doing, peeking into someone's privacy. This Emily is one of the great 108 pillars, a genius magician. Emily asks Kazuhiko and Akane to be grateful, as normally she would make them address her with Sama, but she will make a special exception and allow them to call her Emily. Kazuhiko thinks that sometimes there are people like this, people who are only good at asserting themselves but don't communicate well, who only make the atmosphere in the company worse. Akane introduces herself to Emily, stating she is a female ninja. She says she is looking forward to working with her, but Emily doesn't like this. She says it is quite bold to be summoning another of the 108 pillars beside her. Emily stares at Akane, to which Akane asks what is wrong. Emily confirms Akane's name. She points at Akane and disrespects her with her words. She points out Akane's outfit and the belt she is wearing. She asks if Akane has been trying to get close to Kazuhiko. She says she has got nervous to be stealing Kazuhiko before Emily. She lets Akane know that from now on she will be in charge. She laughs, saying the master seems dull anyway, so they all should just obey her. Annoyed, Kazuhiko grabs Emily and asks Akane to keep an eye out for monsters. He says he is going to discipline Emily. Smiling, Emily asks Kazuhiko to punish Emily thoroughly to her heart's content. Worried, Emily now asks Akane to help her. Kazuhiko throws Emily on the ground, and then says she is nothing but all talk and no substance, just a loudmouth with a strong ego. They don't need allies like that when the world is at stake. He gives her 3 options: either she unearths herself here, changes her attitude, or chooses another master. But Emily asks Kazuhiko not to get so hyped up. Kazuhiko says Akane calls him Kazuhiko. He tells Emily that she can call him by his name like Akane, or call him master. He won't allow any other names. Annoyed, Emily asks Kazuhiko who he thinks he is. Kazuhiko gets angry at her. He says he will have to teach her some manners. With that, he beats Emily, making her cry. He then asks if she has calmed down. He says he doesn't mind her being cheeky, but he won't tolerate her disrespecting him and Akane. Emily calms down a little. Kazuhiko then explains to Emily that in 10 years the world will be destroyed. To prevent that, he will need her power. She really can't stand having him as her master. She can return to her card. She is free to choose another master. He will even help her find one. With tears in her eyes, Emily says she will compete next to Kazuhiko. After all, she is a top-tier legendary rare card. Kazuhiko says he will be looking forward to working with her. With that, Kazuhiko wrote some stuff on the board. Akane asks about it, to which Kazuhiko says he was going to explain the dungeons they have gone through so far. He says 98 days have passed since the dungeon system was activated. The second wave of the cluster phenomenon has passed, and more than 130 dungeons should have appeared. Shocked, Emily asks what he means by should, has not confirmed it. Kazuhiko says that the number of dungeons reported by the UN is 36, including unconfirmed ones. There are like over 130. Akane asks what is he going to do now since he said he needs allies. Emily says she would prefer to work with other character cards over humans. Kazuhiko says for now, he plans to make their next ally a human. There are 3 reasons. First, he thinks the dungeon will soon be open to the public. Second, he wants to observe what happens when people other than himself enter the dungeon. Finally, to get the world to recognize the Dungeon Busters organization, he needs to increase the number of allies. Emily says she doesn't get it, but she doesn't mind if that is what Master wants. She asks when will he start the organization itself. Kazuhiko says he will start it after he is done moving, confusing Emily. In the Nagoya G7 conference hall, President Ronald says that America has confirmed that the black stones produced by the dungeons can split water to produce hydrogen. These stones will create demand for hydrogen power generation systems and trigger a new energy revolution. Furthermore, they propose the simultaneous global release of this information and the establishment of a dungeon management organization under the United Nations. Now is the time for all countries around the world to work together. The ambassador of Japan fully supports the words of the president. But a woman asks what is exactly meant by a dungeon management organization. The president says that individual countries can't handle the dungeon alone. They must cooperate on a global scale. In their country, monsters are strong, and special forces are struggling. It means establishing a new profession specialized in exploring the dungeons and having an international organization manage it. They wondered if dungeon explorers would be the new profession. Private sector involvement will be essential for this new profession. Not only black stones but unknown medicines and technologies may also be uncovered. They wonder if there is an English term that captures the essence of such an unknown explorer, perhaps Indiana Jones. But one of them says it is an adventurer, and like that, a new profession called Dungeon Adventurer is established. And soon, the news can also be heard everywhere in the world. It has been decided to establish the Dungeon Adventurer organizations within the United Nations. While exploring the dungeons, adventurers will collect special materials called black stones and cards. Adventurers may be recruited from the general public. Further discussions are scheduled to take place regarding the implementation of a selection process to identify individuals with abilities. Kazuhiko already knew that the dungeons would be open to the private sector, but it was happening sooner than he expected. Still, it will take time for the United Nations to take action, so it will probably be a while before it is operational. He decides to start gathering up a team now. Later that day, Shiori and Mari come in with some boxes. Shiori praises Kazuhiko, stating it is a lovely place. She says it is very unlikely for him to move houses so suddenly like this. Mari notices a stab-proof vest and a stab-proof shirt and asks Kazuhiko what he has been up to. Kazuhiko says he wanted to talk about it with you today. With that, he takes them to the dungeon, Abyss. He says this place is one of the dungeons currently causing a stir around the world. He brought them here using an ability called teleportation that allows traveling from the surface to the dungeon in an instant. Shocked, Shiori asks what exactly does this all mean. Kazuhiko explains that about 4 months ago, a dungeon appeared in his garden. When he went down to investigate, there was a door that opened up to what was a large space. That is where it all began. After that, he sealed the dungeon entrance so that no one could enter, and worked on unearthing the monsters that he found further in. That is why he wanted to ask Mari to help him with his work inside the dungeon. Dungeons have appeared all over the world, and sightings have been confirmed in Yokohama and Osaka. In 8 months, the dungeons will be fully activated, and they have no way of knowing how much damage humanity may suffer. Shiori asks Kazuhiko why he wants Mari to help him. Kazuhiko says this is so that Mari can protect herself. If the dungeons aren't conquered, monsters will overflow into the surface in 10 years. To prevent this, they need as many people as possible to work on conquering these dungeons. Shiori cannot believe Kazuhiko. She says that if what he is saying is true, there is no way she is going to let her daughter do something so dangerous. Kazuhiko says he is willing to pay 2,000 yen an hour, including hazard pay. And of course, it will be in the dungeon time. Shiori asks about the dungeon time, to which Kazuhiko explains that the time in the dungeon is 144 times faster than it does on the surface. Working for 1 hour on the surface means working 144 hours in the dungeon, so it means that for working 144 hours in the dungeon, Mari will be paid 2,88,000 yen an hour. Shaking, Shiori says she is disappointed in Kazuhiko as he is luring people with money. She says they will be excusing themselves now. But Kazuhiko shows them an item called High Potion. It is effective at treating illnesses. He is giving it to them, hoping Shiori could believe him about what is going to happen. He says if she does believe him, he could use their help. They need Mari's help. He then further introduces Emily and Akane, stating these are characters that play an active role within the dungeons. They are the members of the Dungeon Busters. Akane introduces herself as the female ninja, while Emily says she is the Archmage Emily, but they can call her Emily. Kazuhiko says in the dungeon, Emily and Akane provide support in the competitions and help retrieve the items dropped by monsters. Shiori bends down and apologizes to Kazuhiko, stating as a mother, she can't allow Mari into the dungeon. She thanks Kazuhiko for sharing the information and says she would like to think about it a little. Kazuhiko can understand their situation very well and thanks them for their help. He gives them an advanced payment, stating he would be happy if they would accept it. After that, Akane asks Kazuhiko how did his discussion go. Kazuhiko replies saying, Shiori got upset at him. He says he is also not that comfortable involving a relative in the dungeon either, but they have just 10 years to overcome all the dungeons. He wants there to be someone to take over if something were to happen to him. Akane assures Kazuhiko, stating she is sure they will come to understand it. She asks Kazuhiko to wait for their reply. On the other hand, Shiori asks Mari if she is alright. Mari says Kazuhiko has never helped her to help him like this before. He has supported them for all these years, and it is thanks to him that she doesn't feel lonely even when it has just been the two of them. So if there is some way she could help him, she would like to do it. Shiori finally agrees and asks Mari not to push herself too hard, and she still has to go to school properly. Mari thanks her mom for allowing her to help Kazuhiko. The next day, Kazuhiko is thinking about something when Mari comes in. She says she is here to ask about the new part-time job. With that, Mari is taken into the dungeon where she is trained by Akane and Emily. But within 30 minutes in the dungeon, Mari is building up a sweat because of the heavy vest she is wearing. Kazuhiko suggests practicing a little more. In dungeons, the only way to progress is on foot after all. Akane tells Mari that she doesn't need to be like a master who wears a 20-kilogram vest, 3-kilogram wrist weights on each arm, 8-kilogram weights on each leg, and 10-kilogram diving weights on his waist. Emily says it is very painful at first, but once Mari gets used to it, she will be able to keep up with the master. But Mari cannot take this anymore. She can't even walk anymore. Kazuhiko praises Mari for doing well and asks her to rest for now. Just then, Mari looks at a rabbit card. She looks at the card and finds the rabbit cute. Kazuhiko says that it is called a monster card. They can be used to summon monsters inside the dungeon. Mari is surprised to see something so cute like this in the dungeon. She asks if she can try to summon it. Kazuhiko doesn't allow it though. He says she is not ready to try summoning monster cards all on her own. Emily also agrees with Mari and tells Kazuhiko that cute things are cute, so let's just summon it. With that, Mari decides to summon the rabbit via the card. Within no time, a cute little rabbit pops out of nowhere. Mari finds the rabbit very cute and decides to call her Mew. She cannot believe something so cute can be called a monster. Annoyed, Kazuhiko tells Mary she can't just summon it without permission. Even if it is cute, it is still a monster. He asks her not to approach or come in contact with it so casually. Akane assures Kazuhiko that it is okay to pet the rabbit. She says monsters kept as pets can grow in strength, so they should experiment with how quickly and to what extent its growth can be. Emily also agrees, stating it will keep Mari happy, so why don't they keep Mew and see how it goes. If they bring her with them, she can also help to keep things competitive for Mari. Kazuhiko decides to let Mew stay as a pet. With that, they go inside the dungeon where Emily can be seen competing with the monsters. After competing with the monsters, she says she desires more challenging monsters to compete with. She calls herself amazing. She wonders if she will be able to use magic too. Kazuhiko also likes Emily's combat skills. He says magic is quite useful in times like these. Emily agrees, saying the great archmage Emily has the most powerful magic of all the 108 pillars. She says she can teach Mari how to use magic as well. Kazuhiko suggests going a little deeper since they have Emily's magic. Mari gets a little worried upon seeing some monsters and asks about them. Akane explains that those are F-rank monsters called goblins. They are quite small, but if she unearths one of them, it will drop a 500 yen coin. She says she will defeat this first one and show her how it is done. With just a few beats, the goblins are unearthed, leaving behind the coins. Mari is shocked to see Akane's skills. Akane lets Mari know that Emily defeated the monster earlier, but when she encounters the monsters in the dungeon, she will have to learn how to deal with them on her own. Mari asks if she should use the shovel or a sword when dealing with the monster, to which Akane replies saying anything is fine, but she must not leave herself open. She adds that goblins can bite as hard as a dog. Emily explains to Mari that going into the dungeon is always risking their life, so she will need to get used to that. With that, Mari defeats her first goblin. Akane is happy to see Mari's success. She asks how is she feeling after defeating her first goblin. Mari looks at the sword, saying she took the goblin down with one beat, so she thinks she is feeling good. Akane says it must be from all the weight training. She suggests keeping it up. Just then, another goblin comes out of nowhere and marches at Mari, but this time Mew comes in front of the goblin and defeats it. Mari pets his little Mew, stating it isn't some normal rabbit. She is her cute little partner. She adds that with Mew they are as strong as 100 people, and thanks Mew for her help. Later they all have a meal together, and Mew also gets a little treat, a beef stew. Mari cannot understand how a rabbit is eating a beef stew. Akane explains that monsters are omnivores. They will eat meat, vegetables, or whatever they are able to get their hands on. Just then Kazuhiko comes in and asks if Mew managed to defeat the goblin with just one aim. He praises her, saying she is strong enough to handle it. Mari thanks Kazuhiko and says she will take good care of Mew. Kazuhiko gives the card case for Mew to Mari and asks her to take good care of it. With that, they turn on the TV for some news. Turns out a third wave of dungeons has been confirmed. Just 36 days after the second wave, new dungeons are appearing all over the world. They shift to the ground analyst, Maruyama, to see what is going on. Maruyama explains that she is in Saporro, Hokkaido. It appears that this year's snow festival may get cancelled, as it comes with the appearance of a new dungeon in Japan. It is hard to ignore the ominous atmosphere here at the scene, even as it has been sectioned off by blue traps. Following the Osaka and Yokohama dungeons, the site is under strict management by the Japan Ground Cell Defense Forces. She can't help but feel anxious about how long this phenomenon will continue. Kazuhiko says it has been 36 days since the Yokohama dungeon appeared. The third wave is right on cue. Mari asks Kazuhiko if everything is going to be okay. Kazuhiko assures Mari, stating they have got this. Maruyama adds that following the Yokohama and Osaka, a third dungeon has appeared in Sapporo, Hokkaido. The entrance has been sealed off, and the police are continuing to direct the local traffic. Currently, the city is under strict management by Japan Ground Self-Defense, and so far no civilians have been injured. Kazuhiko says they expect 7 more dungeon waves to occur, since 36 days is a tenth of a year in dungeon time. Dungeons are practically different worlds where even time flows differently. The government can't be held responsible for what happens inside, unearth or be unearthed. Everyone is on their own. Even with a multinational organization opening dungeons up to civilians, it will probably take around a year for them to implement proper measures. A boy named Shingo Yamahoka is a first-year student at Matsue High. There is an idol here in Class B. Though he calls her an idol, she is not famous and hasn't appeared on TV, but she is the most beautiful girl in the class. Shingo goes inside the class and sees someone greet the beautiful girl Mari. Mari asks Shingo if he saw the news yesterday. She is 16 years old at the time. There is not a single boy in school who isn't interested in her. She used to be kind of gloomy and hard to approach, but recently she has become much brighter. Shingo looks at Mari thinking she is seriously very cute. Another guy asks Shingo to stop blocking the doorway and get away. People are also noticing the change in Mari's behavior and ask if she has got someone special. They say that she is bound to get offers from agencies with a beauty like her, but Mari says she is not interested. The girl asks Mari if she doesn't get fat since she eats a lot, but Mari says maybe it is because she gets more hungry. Someone says it might be because she is seeing someone special. Shocked, Mari asks what are the girls talking about. The girl says it is the guy Kazuhiko. She has been hanging around a lot, but Mari explains that it is nothing like that. Shingo gets angry after knowing that there might be some guy in Mari's life. He wonders what kind of man changes Mari and decides to investigate. After school, Mari is walking back home while thinking it would be a problem if people find out about Kazuhiko and the dungeon. She needs to make sure everything remains a secret. Just then a guy comes out of a car and approaches Mari. He introduces himself as Wakagi from Allure Productions. He asks if she is interested in becoming an idol. Mari thinks that Wakagi showed up right in front of her house. She doesn't have time for all this, so she bluntly denies, saying she isn't interested in becoming an idol at all. She asks Wakagi to leave, but he seems adamant. He asks her not to be like this, and says they should talk about it while trying to come close to her in the wrong way. Angry, Mari grabs Wakagi's wrist, stating he would be scared too if some stranger would try to come close to him like that. She asks if she should call the police. She asks him not to show his face again. With that, she goes inside the house where Shimaori is cleaning the dishes. She asks if the school is finished for today. Mari agrees, saying some strange guy approached her outside. Somehow Kazuhiko hears everything. He takes her with her to the production company. He says they might ask her to advertise as some indecent idol. Mari laughs, saying that sure was unfortunate. She says she feels awkward when he uses the term indecent. Recently she has gained a bit of weight. Kazuhiko says that is probably the influence of the enhancement factors. It strengthened her bones and muscles. She is just a high school girl, but she has the strength of professional competitors. He asks her to be careful when she competes with people. With that said, Mari goes inside the dungeon where Akane puts some weird clothing on Mari, which Mari finds embarrassing. She asks Kazuhiko what is this all about. He explains that this is the rare rank equipment that provides a buff to physical resistance and boosts magic power. It is just a little hard to know where to look. There was also a mage cloak, so he decided to use that instead. Emily says since Mari is a holy mage, she thinks a pure white cloak would suit her. Kazuhiko says he is not about to waste Gacha pulling on something so pointless. They will make use of the equipment they have. After Mari, Kazuhiko also gives some cute beast gloves to Mew. He explains that these gloves protect the monster's hands when striking. Just then, Mew gives a live demonstration of what the gloves do, since she likes them a lot. With that, they go inside the dungeon where Emily trains Mari how to magic. She says magic is all about visualization. To use a fire arrow, imagine a flaming arrow and channel her magical energy into that image to shape it. Mari's magic is called Purifying the Living, which is effective against the living monsters. Soon Mari gets the hang of the magic and uses her magic on the skeleton knights. Kazuhiko decides to use the third floor to practice holy magic. He lets Mew know that he will be counting on her as well. As expected, Mew marches at the skeleton knights with all her powers and defeats each one of them with grace and cuteness. Mari praises Mew after her wonderful performance. She tells Mew that she is amazing, and after that a brush is used to clean the cute little paws of Mew. Kazuhiko says that is how they will take care of their equipment, as well as countermeasures for the third floor. He expects that the dungeon will be open to the public soon. He adds that it is good for Mew since he got his equipment. Kazuhiko looks at the brush that was used to clean Mew's paws, and says he cannot see how that brush is a rare rank item. Emily explains that it makes beasts' fur all fluffy, but also boosts their physical resistance. Kazuhiko is surprised to have a fluffy and shock-absorbent pet roaming around. Anyhow, they continue with the preparations and work hard to prepare themselves for what is coming for them next. Kazuhiko gives Mari the pay for the job. He says it was her first mission, but since she ranked up, he calculated it at an hourly rate of 2,000 yen. Mari thanks Kazuhiko for the pay and says she might buy some souvenirs on her way back home. He says it took him 10,000 goblins to go to E rank. It will probably take her a little while longer to reach E rank too. Mari says that tomorrow is Sunday and asks what are they going to do about the dungeon. Kazuhiko says he is thinking about resting in the morning and heading into the dungeon in the afternoon. She is welcome to join him if she likes. Mari asks if Kazuhiko is going somewhere, since he is thinking about resting in the morning. Kazuhiko says there is going to be a special program about the dungeon appearance in Saporro. He wants to watch it to help plan for future strategies. He asks Mari to get some rest, to which she agrees. Later that night, Mari is watching TV while eating her dinner. In the news it says that regarding the dungeon appearance cycle, 36 days is 1/10 of a year, and since this is the third occurrence, that would mean they can expect dungeon appearances. However, it is premature to assume there won't be any more than that. This phenomenon is an unprecedented supernatural event for humanity. After all, physicists are scratching their heads over this. Just how long will this phenomenon continue across the world? Kazuhiko can be seen listening to the news at the same time. The people have hopes for a G7 joint statement on civilian access to dungeons. In any case, a massive workforce will be needed moving forward. Kazuhiko thinks that Japan's government has been slow in responding to the dungeon situation. The real question is how Ling society can remain safe like this. At the Ministry of Defense, a test has been devised for the civilians to access the dungeons. They wonder if they should proceed with the first trial in Yokohama. In the Yokohama dungeon, E-rank self-defense force members have already entered the second layer, and they have confirmed a skill called card gacha. The main concern is the competition over magic stones and equipment within the dungeon. There are already reports that tens of thousands of soldiers from the People's Liberation Army have begun entering dungeons in the Greater East Asia, People's Communist State. Experts have also raised opinions on the management of adventurer organizations, including proposals to establish trading posts for cards and equipments, along with the suggestions that the Ministry of Defense should elevate the Dungeon Countermeasures Division to a higher administrative level. Just then the director Ishihara come in asking who is leading the Dungeon Countermeasures Division. She says it is progressing smoothly. She is the Ministry of Defense's rising star among the reformists. At the Dungeon Adventurer Management Bureau, Yokohama branch, someone asks to take a look. It has been 5 months since the first dungeon appeared. So far dungeons have emerged in Sapporo, Yokohama, Osaka, and just recently in Sendai. Following the G7 joint statement, nations have been actively debating the Dungeon Adventurer system. The Japanese government has finally approved the Dungeon Adventurer system. Trials are now being conducted with volunteers from both the self-defense forces and the civilian sector. 20 years or older, having no criminal records, and possessing Japanese citizenship. If they meet these criteria, they look forward to their participation. With that said, a guy named Akira Shishido comes in, stating he is a martial. He dedicated himself to karate from a young age, and earned a black belt at Shinmeikanot at an unprecedented speed. At 18, he won both the national and international tournaments. Since then he has claimed 6 consecutive championships. And then, what caught his eye was a recruitment notice for dungeon adventurers. They are saying civilians can take on the dungeon now. He says in a dungeon, he can compete to his heart's content. He thought he could reach even greater heights than he is now, so he signed up without hesitation. He will become the strongest adventurer of all time. At the primary examination site, Akira realizes that there are quite a few older folks too when he notices Kazuhiko. An examiner says they will not begin the dungeon adventurer exam. He asks everyone to enter with the required documents. First comes the written test. Akira is smiling as the test is about basic dungeon knowledge and the fundamentals of adventuring. He thinks this will be easy. He completes with test quickly and decides to submit it. Next comes to the fitness test. Akira is wheat strong and gets to have a right grip strength of 120 kilograms. Just then, Akira notices Kazuhiko and realizes he has passed the test. Kazuhiko takes off his shirt for the test when the people get shocked. It turns out Kazuhiko has got quite the build. Akira finds this interesting as he wasn't expecting that. Next comes the strength and lung capacity evaluation. The candidates are asked to do vertical jumps and shuttle runs. Akira looks at Kazuhiko wondering if the old man has been holding back all this time. He realizes that Kazuhiko is doing it even when the examiners aren't watching. He wonders if Kazuhiko has a more impressive background than him. After the test, the results re-announced for the top 100 from the written test, and the top 100 from the physical exam. They are asked to move on to the second stage. Akira is happy to see that he aimed for a higher rank after seeing Kazuhiko, but turns out Kazuhiko didn't surpass his ranking. He wonders what is the name of this old man. Just then someone calls Kazuhiko, so Akira gets to know his name and checks the ranking again. It turns out that even though Kazuhiko was holding back, he still managed to make it into the first 30. He thinks that Kazuhiko's true ability must be much higher. He must have a reason for holding back. Akira hopes that Kazuhiko will show his full strength in the next stage. At the Yokohama Dungeon's secondary exam venue, everyone is excited to start the drill. The participants are divided into groups of 10, each one entering the dungeon one at a time. The government is clear that if they lose their life or their equipment, it's on their own. They won't bear any responsibility. Instead of being scared, Akira is excited. The first group is about to enter, and both Kazuhiko and Akira are members of that group. The sergeant tells them about the time difference. 5 minutes out there means 12 hours in there, and each group lasts only 15 minutes. Real-world time. Akira looks up to Akane, who is so mysterious and silent. He smiles, realizing that this old man is on a whole different level. After all, that grip strength can't be achieved by regular means. Either he's a certified gooner, or he's been working out his entire life. Everyone is given stab-proof vests, shirts and goggles, and also well wishes. Akira thanks the heavens that he was matched with Kazuhiko based on his results. After all, they both landed in the top 10 rankings. They will look at each other before it starts. The news reporter covers the story that the first adventurers of the new world are entering the dungeon. Since time flows differently, it will look like they vanish for a moment. All the Western nations are trying to find a good civilian recruitment system, but Japan is the first to officially start it, and is broadcasting it worldwide. Realizing that the broadcast is live, Kazuhiko wonders if they will even be able to air it since time moves differently between the two dimensions. The sergeant tells the third group to get ready and for everyone to move out. On the first floor of the dungeon, a chick can barely keep up. She is already panting, but she is excited to be here. Either she is a badass or a baggage, but only time will tell. This woman is Ayoko, a 26-year-old working professional. She has some weird ideas about being involved in the dungeon preservation movement, and she is also actively participating in protests opposing government policies. A bit reckless, but if she can pull her own weight, then it's okay. Akira smiles, telling everyone he wants to take charge. After all, letting a woman take the lead is wrong. A cute little bunny hops over and everyone realizes it's a rabbit monster, while everyone is sharpening their knives, ready to take it down and turn it into rabbit steak, even bringing up their cards to summon their weapons. Ayoko tells them to stop and stand down. Everyone wonders if she is going to take down the rabbit by herself. She must have the guts of steel. She smiles and tells everyone not to worry. She's got it. Akira and Kazuhiko remind her that she is against a monster, and it's dangerous to face it alone. She lashes out, asking, "What the hell are they talking about? Why are they calling it monsters? There's no way adorable creatures like that can be monsters. In truth, they are the monsters for killing it." It turns out this brain-dead woman is pulling up some vegan bullfish. She starts going on and on about animals, only attacking when they are cornered or attacked. So they should try to be friends with it. Akira can't believe what he's hearing. Not only is she a woman but also stupid and a vegan at that. He reminds her that they are dealing with monsters, and love and non-violence will end up losing them a limb. They attack people only to kill, and for the love of the game. Ayoko still insists on her self-righteous bullfish that they are only victims. The Japanese government is invading dungeons and slaughtering animals, and they must put the fight behind them and restore peace. The guys are speechless and decide to let her do whatever she wants. She kneels in front of the cute bunny and spreads her arms, telling it not to be shy. They are not enemies. As she tries some talk no jutsu, the guys remind her that it's a dangerous animal. The bunny hops over and her face turns red, and she wonders if she is finally a Disney princess. Looking at the cute bunny and its sparkling eyes, she is on cloud 9, reminding the bunny that she is on its side and will protect her with her dying breath. The bunny decides to test that by baring its sharp fangs. At the next moment she has lost her nose. Honestly, an upgrade with the stupidity she has been rocking. She can't believe what just happened and looks at the bunny spit her nose out. With tears in her eyes, she curses the rabbit and wishes she had never let her guard down. She tries to stop the bleeding. Kazuhiko looks at this stupid bench, telling the examiner that the monsters are being drawn in by the shouting. Can they even continue the test? The examiner is at a loss for words. Kazuhiko points out that she stupidly let her Disney fantasies run wild, and now she has been attacked and is lying there crying without a nose. They should leave her be. Ayoko is speechless and embarrassed. He decides to take charge for now, telling Akira that he is on guard duty. He tells Ayoko to release pressure on the wound. Slowly, they bandage up the hole on her face. After her Voldemort makeover, she apologizes to everyone for being so dumb. The guys tell her it's fine. She has suffered already, losing her sniffer. 3 more bunnies arrive at the same time. Akira and the others freeze. Kazuhiko tells Akira to take care of them, and Akira, desperate to prove himself, kicks one bunny in the stomach. Kazuhiko is impressed, but 3 bunnies leap over him. He brings out his fists and plays whack-a-mole with all 3 of them, making small work of them. Bootleg Voldemort is rushed out of the dungeon on a stretcher, and reports say that she was injured heroically going out for battle, charging at the monster, and getting seriously injured. This has shaken public opinion, and the government is reviewing the future of the adventurer system. Kazuhiko looks at the news, wondering what the Joint Defense Force is even doing. It's all over the news that the dungeon adventurer system is not perfect right now. Some of them hold the view that it shouldn't be implemented, and the government is closely watching how they should move forward. Kazuhiko, on the other hand, reviews what happened. It was the first time a woman misunderstood monsters, trying to be friends with them. The various ideologies overlapped, and it resulted in her losing her nose. If they don't stop the current dungeon, in 10 years the whole world will be overrun by monsters greater than the rabbit they just faced. They really have a situation on their hand. Akira lightheadedly tells him that he is strong and that he should be proud. He took down 3 of those rabbits with ninja movements. Just who is he? Kazuhiko nervously stutters, and Akira is just glad to have fought such an intense fight. He also notices that Kazuhiko is no ordinary man and is really curious about him. Kazuhiko smiles and wonders if he is into that kind of thing, if he prefers guys instead of girls. He nervously tells him that's not what he was talking about. He is curious about his strength. He has never met someone stronger than him. After all, Akira is the champion of the Karate World Championship in open weight. He has 6 consecutive victories and a world championship title under his belt. He is a superstar in his domain. Kazuhiko finally realizes that he has seen him on TV, and though he doesn't know about his stats, he must be somewhere between D and E rank. Kazuhiko realizes he will be a valuable member of the Dungeon Busters. The news comes to an end with the promise of a press conference with the government tomorrow to share the official opinion. It's the people who are selfish because they have been pushing for privatization. The moment the government decides that dungeons are too dangerous, they don't know what they'll do. Akira is not happy that the exam was cancelled, and hopes that adventure exams will be held in the future. They both share the view, and he asks for Kazuhiko's story. Kazuhiko just tells him he can't reveal the reasons why he is strong. But what's the reason for Akira to be an adventurer? Akira pauses and wonders. He is not in it for the money. He just wants to get stronger, beat up monsters, and have intense battles. It turns out Akira is a muscle-headed battle junkie who wants to get stronger and fight stronger species than humans. He has fought all over the world, and now he wants a life in that struggle. Kazuhiko finds him an interesting guy, definitely reliable, and adventure material. Akira asks him about his reasons. He says that he wants to be a dungeon conqueror. That's all. Anuk interrupts their bromance, and 3 officials arrive. The commander introduces himself and apologizes for what they went through, and thanks them for their cooperation. Because of them, the exam ended with no deaths. Therefore, he wants to formally request them to become Japan's finest and first dungeon adventurers. The 2 have officially passed the test and have been handed their licenses. Both of the guys are ecstatic. The commander also thanks them for their efforts to save the chick. Akira wonders what will happen to the adventurer system moving forward. Because the incident has shaken public opinion, the commander tells them that they are the future of the adventurer system. They will review it and see if they will continue it or not. But Kazuhiko and Akira need to prove that their system is good, even though it's selfish to ask them. But it's a direct message from the Prime Minister. Kazuhiko can't believe that someone as important as the Prime Minister is reaching out to them. Akira accepts without missing a beat. After all, he'll get to fight monsters and take on challenges. The commander thanks them and asks Kazuhiko about his profession. When he learns that he's only a management consultant, he can't wrap his head around how strong he is. Akira sure, because he's a karate champion. But why is Ankh dishing out violence? Kazuhiko tells the commander that he wants them to sign a contract before he reveals. The commander yells that he's not the type of person who spreads gossip. Kazuhiko is still weary, and hands Akira a contract as well. It's an NDA, so they didn't reveal what he's about to say. After this sign, he reveals that he's the first contact. 36 days before a dungeon appeared in Osaka, the world's worst dungeon appeared in his background. An air-racked dungeon, and his life changed completely. He brings out a card saying it's the highest potion available that can cure and even restore lost body parts. He won't waste it on that chick who lost her nose. The commander looks at the card saying it could start a war. They finally realize why he's so strong. He's been fighting day in and day out. For the future of Japan, they want Kazuhiko to cooperate and help them. The Special Defense Force will provide them with full support. Kazuhiko smiles and humbly accepts the offer. After a few days since the first successful dungeon exploration, the world is glad, but there are still concerns about the injuries sustained during the examination, though it's starting to fade. Some of the countries even want to adopt Japan's system to recruit adventurers, and the United Nations is even proposing starting a dungeon adventurer headquarters. That will be discussed in the upcoming summit. Finally, Kazuhiko and Akira arrive with loads of magic crystal bags. Japan's first adventurers have arrived. It's only been 5 hours since they entered the dungeon, but inside, a whole month has passed. They're worn out and beaten, but still wave their hands to uplift the spirit of the masses. According to the government, they have sourced 100 kilograms of magic stones, exceeding the amount required to run the hydrogen power plant. Everyone is excited about the new energy system that will provide cheaper electricity for everyone. Currently, the government is buying magic stones for 100 yen per kilogram, so in only 5 hours they have earned 10 million yen for 100 kilograms. Everyone is speechless that they made 10 mil for only 5 hours of work. According to the Adventurer Management Bureau, it is still cheaper than importing gas, so they will continue to buy these items from Akira and Kazuhiko. The crowd goes wild, and the paparazzi continue to take pictures of the duo. Akira is not camera shy, and basks in the glory. They sign the documents that will transfer 10 million yen to their bank accounts. The commander wonders what they will do with the cards. Kazuhiko decides to keep their cards, since it's the first drop item they obtained from the dungeon. Akira decides to only keep one and sell the rest. Overnight, they continue to rise in fame. One reporter asks about the large reward they earned, how many monsters they defeated, and what he plans to do with his earnings. Kazuhiko reveals that he defeated 33,000 monsters in total. 3 days of dungeon time. They were defeating 4,000 monsters a day. Akira scratches his head, telling them that the time he spent in the dungeon was like a dream, and now he will have a beef bowl with raw eggs on the side. Kazuhiko lays the air for all the envious people out there that they worked 720 hours and earned 10 mil. That means that they earned 10,000 yen per hour. When everyone asks them if they will be adventurers in the future, Kazuhiko replies with a yes. Kazuhiko is then revealing plans of starting a company called Dungeon Busters. He will use profits from selling magical stones and cards to invest in the company, and Akira will be the first employee. They will aim to reach the furthest depths of the dungeon. The reporter is touched, asking details about the company. Kazuhiko reveals that their goal is to explore dungeons, unravel mysteries, find rare cards, and also find a way to eliminate the dungeons. That's why they want to recruit those who share the vision. Everyone is thrilled to hear Kazuhiko's expectations and plans, hoping that the Dungeon Busters will expand internationally. Back at his consulting job, he meets up with his childhood friend Iwamoto. Iwamoto asks him how he's been and how the consulting work is going. Akira nervously says that there is just going on, and he hasn't been to the coffee shop in a while. This brings back memories. Iwamoto tells him that things are going smoothly in the office, and regarding how they should move forward. He pauses, and they stare intensely into each other's eyes. Iwamoto understands what he's going through and doesn't ask for details, but he advises Kazuhiko to put his consulting contract on hold, since he's being an adventurer. That way he will have an option to fall back on if that doesn't work out. Kazuhiko smiles and tells his bro that he appreciates it. Iwamoto has been watching him and cheering him from the sidelines. He holds his hand out, congratulating his childhood buddy on founding Dungeon Busters, even looking forward to working together. Back in his own dungeon, Mari is hugging Mew, greeting Akira with a warm smile. Akira introduces himself, and after exchanging greetings, he feels an intense pressure around Mari. For a cute girl with a bunny, she has the aura of a martial god. She raises her eyebrow, asking what's wrong. Kazuhiko cautions him not to mess with Mew. Though the bunny looks harmless, it's stronger than any monster he's ever faced. He then decides to introduce him to Emily and Akane. Akira can't believe that this has it all. Dungeon, fame, and 2 smoking hot character cards. Kazuhiko explains that the first dungeon appeared in June, and he's been training for 5 months, reaching unparalleled strength. That's why he can use powers that surprise even world champions. Akira finally understands why he's so strong and asks Kazuhiko to spar with him once. Kazuhiko wonders if anyone else is up for it. Without missing a beat, Mew volunteers. 5 seconds later, Akira is fighting for his life against a plushie. They look at Mew, absolutely mop the floor with Akira. Akira, instead of panicking, is excited. He's a man who has experienced countless fighting techniques, but this monster is on a whole new level. As the bunny squares up, he realizes he's going to use martial arts. He tries to take it down with a light jab, but the bunny activates One for All, Detroit Smash. With energy swirling against his paw, it brings the match to a definitive end. Akira clenches his jaw and can't believe that he lost in a single hit. Kazuhiko smirks, saying that he had Akira fight the bunny so he could know about his weakness and not charge straight on. Akira realizes that he's been fighting humans all his life. His techniques are outdated against monsters. Kazuhiko is glad that he realized his own shortcomings. He's strong for a human, but things are on a whole new level. Right now he's an E ranker, equaling a martial artist. D rank are legendary martial artists, and C ranks are those who have surpassed human limits, just like Kazuhiko. He shouldn't aim to be the strongest man in the world, but an S ranker, the strongest being in the world. With a newfound fire burning in his furnace, he tells his bro to count on him to get there. A cute little squirrel is soaring through the air. Akira wonders why the flying squirrel is out of the forest. Kazuhiko tells him there's a flying squirrel monster, not a regular kind, and they shouldn't be deceived by how cute it looks. Sure enough, in the next second it turns into a fire-breathing demon. Kazuhiko knocks it down with a single knife strike, ending its trashy existence. Akira realizes that it was a monster that could use magic, and now understands why the Japanese special forces are having a hard time on the second floor. He also notices how ruthless his big bro is. Kazuhiko picks up the magic stone, which weighs about 4 grams. If they defeat monsters, they should reach their goal of defeating 1,500 of them in 120 hours. Even if they return to the apartment to shower and sleep for 8 hours and 6 cycles, they can go back to the surface. Kazuhiko is fired up and cracks his knuckles, ready to begin the dungeon exploration quest. Back at the Ministry of Defense, a smoking hot MILF is worrying about the stupid girl who was injured in the dungeon. She really hurt their image, and the number of adventurer candidates is shrinking. She tries to come up with a new way to recover her public image. Dungeons are a global threat, and they need adventurers to take them on. With the world watching, they can't afford to back down. But what can they do but give them benefits? She gets up from the chair and tells her assistant to get the car ready. They're heading to the dungeon. She reviews Akira's achievements and how he told the press that they're defeating monsters to gain experience. If they need to get stronger, they need to train themselves. He has already defeated 10,000 monsters and still hasn't racked up. The concept of EXP is not there. Kazuhiko reveals that it's not unlike a game, but there is a strengthening factor around the monsters. When they defeat them, they get stronger. Both his strength, stamina, and wood size have increased after getting into the dungeon. By defeating monsters, it can accelerate muscle growth. The director bashes her head for what she should do, even if they offer high rewards of 10 million yen in 5 hours. And ID cards to make sure that it's a new recognized profession. The people are not willing to take part in the exam. If things keep going, they will only have 2 adventurers in Japan. Speaking of the 2 adventurers, they're busy gathering 150 kilograms of magical stones in just 5 hours of real-world time. The hydrogen power plant is coming along smoothly. They're even rushing to develop it. When it comes to the cars, Kazuhiko once again decides to keep all of his. Akira once again decides to sell all but one. Kazuhiko decides to buy half of his cards. The TV crew is here again for another press conference. Kazuhiko realizes the system is exploding with Japan as its epicenter. Foreign media is making a big deal of it and is really putting in the effort. Maybe it's because of the girl's accident, but people are protesting against civilians taking part in the conquest. He decides to guide the media and manage public image. They can indeed earn 10 million yen in a day, but hunting goblins is more efficient and a side job. Someone knocks on the door and he knows that the director wants to meet them. The director is a complete baddie in her 40s and introduces herself, saying she needs to discuss something. She needs to ask for their opinion on how to get adventurers to sign up. They've been focusing on how much they can earn, but still the applications are fewer, lesser than my chance of begging her. If they recall correctly, after the 4th team, all other teams have retired. Since it's too dangerous, no one wants to attempt further, and they're desperately trying to restore public image using the media. Kazuhiko understands what he needs to do. He asks why the government is so determined to recruit adventurers, and why they are handling it like military recruitment. The director reveals that they really need those magical stones that they harvest from the dungeons. It can break down water into hydrogen. To cover Japan's renewable energy cost, they need around 45,000 tons of magic stones. With only 2 adventures, it's impossible. Right now they spend 20 trillion yen on fossil fuels. If this can be covered locally, then it could free up the budget. If one person secures 100 kilograms per day and works 200 days a year, it would mean 20 tons a year. To gather 45,000 tons, they need more than 2,300 adventures. At this rate, they won't have enough for the plan to come about. Kazuhiko decides on the approach he needs to take, but he will need her approval. A few days later, somewhere in Tokyo, a fatty loser is walking down the aisle. He's blue because he missed the limited edition PS edition. His name is Tanaka, a 42-year-old unkawi holding on to his V-card and being part of the lost generation. When he graduated from university, there were no jobs and only exploitive companies wanted to get him. He drifted from one job to another and now works as a freelance programmer. He then makes lewd manga. He remembers seeing the news talk about magical stones and the dungeon's appearance. He was excited that it was a fantasy adventure, but now he realizes there is only a death trap. All of a sudden, Kazuhiko's image flashes on all the screens around him. He introduces himself, and Tanaka looks up to Kazuhiko because he is from the same generation, but is youthful in the best shape of his life, and an adventurer. He's even sporting the adventurer gear instead of his suit. The news reporter asks Kazuhiko about Dungeon Busters and the new announcement they want to share. Kazuhiko reveals that today is Christmas, a busy day, but he wants everyone walking by to hear this. Even young people are interested. Two babes in bunny costumes bring out a ton of cash, and Kazuhiko smirks in front of it. He tells them that this is 1.5 billion yen, the amount an adventurer can earn in a single year. Adventurers are granted to make this amount in a single year. Even a CEO earns only 500 million yen over their lifetime, but an adventurer can earn double that. Even if they say that they are in the 40s, out of shape, have high fats, or worry that they can't fight in a dungeon, Kazuhiko has great news for them. At Dungeon Busters, they're inviting one person to join them as an apprentice adventurer, and what's more, they will train them so that in a single day they can pass the exam. Even if they are fat as hell, they're welcome because they will transform that fatty into a lean, mean killing machine. At the Dungeon Boot Camp, they can apply through the Ministry of Defense website. Tanaka gasps in surprise, realizing this is the chance he's been waiting for all his life. Akira appears with two fitness models, telling them there is good news for those who are about to give up on themselves and think of themselves as losers in life. Dungeon Busters is inviting only one person to be an adventure trainee, so that they can turn that fat flab into a thick ball of muscle. At Dungeon Boot Camp, they will transform themselves in one day. Immediately, the ministry server is flooded with applications. About 44,000 applications arrive. The server is completely blown over. The director tells Kazuhiko that his call was the right one. It's as if the incident never happened. It's all thanks to them. Preparing 1.5 billion yen in cash and having a rising star deliver the presentation was an amazing PR stunt. The director tells Kazuhiko that it's time to choose the candidate, and they should help her out. Most of them are men in their 40s with Japanese nationality, terrible at sports, and a shut-in. Kazuhiko goes through the applications, and the director wonders if he has found the perfect candidate. He needs to find someone who can grab the attention of the Japanese public through the boot camp. Someone with strong before and after effects. Someone who is fat as hell, a shut-in loser with bold aspirations. He finally finds the perfect guy, Tanaka, a 42-year-old freelancing programmer. In his application, he wrote that he wants to be just like Kazuhiko and wants to publish a manga about his experiences in the dungeon. This guy is the perfect choice. The director tells them to handle it, however they see fit. They decide to bring mattresses and food into the dungeon, and also to take photos and videos of the test as a reference for future boot camps. If the test goes well, then it will be a new model for training adventurers and self-defense forces. Even if they train 10 people a day, they can have 200 new adventurers by the end of the month. And that's promising, so they should start right away to promote the dungeon's usefulness to help society. In 24-hour surface time, they will make sure to turn this fatty into a hottie. Akira smiles, asking everyone how they are doing. Today they are going to kick off the dungeon boot camp. They show Tanaka's image and tell them not to be scared by how fat and ugly he is. At Dungeon Boot Camp, they are bound to be reborn, so everyone should look forward to Tanaka's transformation. They congratulate him on being selected and ask what his enthusiasm is. He is speechless and says that the reason he decided to join was that he saw Kazuhiko's speech. They are both in their 40s, but Kazuhiko looks like an 18-year-old high schooler on steroids. That's why he also wants to be reborn. Kazuhiko smiles and likes his attitude. On day one, they snap a couple of pictures of Kazuhiko posing, but he still looks like a loser. He explains that he will spend a month in the dungeon. Every day they will return to the surface to shower, and they will take pictures of his transformation. On the surface, it will only be a day, but in that short time he will go through a lot of changes. He will become a symbol of hope for everyone who wants to change. First up, he needs to wear this 5 kg weighted vest. Walk for 2 hours, then rest for 20 minutes, and continue the cycle for an entire hour. Then he'll get to eat 3 times. The first 7 days, they will try to build his stamina, and once that is done, they will start shaping his body. The dungeon boot camp starts in high spirits. Fatty is running for his life. He can barely keep up with Kazuhiko, even though they are both in their 40s. Kazuhiko volunteers to slow down if he is tired, but Fatty is fired up. Kazuhiko is wearing even heavier equipment and still moving like a feather. He goes beyond his limits until his legs give out. Akira hands him a potion like a god of healing, as it will help with his fatigue and muscle recovery. Tanaka is glad to get that potion, so that he can seize tomorrow. The next thing he does is stuff his face with burgers and soda. Both of the adventurers wonder if it's okay to give him junk food, but with what he's been going through, it's only right that he gets a cheat meal. He slept like he was dead the entire day. After the meal, they resume his training. Now he's sporting a 10 kg waist and 5 kg ankle weights, and still walking steadily. Now it's time for him to fight monsters. First up, he will fight rabbits, though they seem cute, but he needs to kill them or die in the process. If he needs to be an adventurer, he needs to leave that cute bullfish behind him. Tanaka understands, and Kazuhiko tells him that it's different from a video game. The monster won't disappear into pixels. He will really have to kill a monster, and as he is a kind person, he needs to harden his resolve. He tells Tanaka that kindness is not wrong, but it can cost him his life in this death trap. He can show compassion to monsters. Tanaka clenches his fists and understands. They continue training every day, and even Mew chasing him for extra motivation. At the end of the day, the press is buzzing with excitement. The boot camp is about to end, and they are standing at the entrance to see what went down. Our image shows Tanaka as a fatty with a high body fat percentage, but when he walks out of the dungeon, he is completely unrecognizable. A killer face card, rock-hard abs, and the physique of a martial artist. He has lost 20 kgs and his body fat is below 8%. Despite being practically blind without his glasses, his vision has even improved. They wonder if it's because of the dungeon's enhancement factor. Thanks to the success of the boot camp, the self-defense forces training of adventurers will increase. Tanaka's beer belly has transformed into a flat six-pack. His chest, biceps, and hamstrings are all developed, and everyone is talking about how amazing his transformation has been. Tanaka sees the news with mixed feelings. He remembers being a fatty, and how he spent a month in a dungeon. He has lost all his weight and feels as if he is in a body that belongs to someone else. But what should he do now? There are a lot of thoughts swirling in his mind. Kazuhiko wonders why he is so glum. He congratulates Tanaka on a job well done, and on becoming a full-fledged adventurer. He then hands him a thick wad of cash. That's his pay and his cart for gathering 700k keys of magic stone. His share will be 66 cards worth 1 million yen. 2 weeks ago he became an adventurer, and with this much money, if he wants to go in a different direction, he can live comfortably. Tanaka is worried. He looks away and wonders how he should live his life. He's not sure about being an adventurer. He's indeed been reborn, and is completely different. But there's something that he's lacking: determination. Kazuhiko smiles confidently, telling him to decide what he wants to do in his life. What he wants to do passionately. Our adventurer needs a reason to go into the dungeon every day, and if he can't find a reason, he will give him one. He brings out a contract to sign to be a member of Dungeon Busters. He holds out his hand, welcoming him into the corporation. Akira introduces Tanaka to the Dungeon Busters family. He is their newest member, also known as Muchi. Mari and the gang are excited and introduce themselves. Tanaka can't believe what he's seeing. Card characters, tamed monsters. Is this a full-on isekai dungeon going on? Kazuhiko smiles, saying that they are a hero party out to save the world. If they didn't take down the dungeons, bad things are going to happen in 10 years. The goal of the boot camp is to recruit allies. Tanaka asks what he means. Making a pyramid screen, he explains that if they don't take out high-level dungeons, the world will be destroyed. That's why he needs Tanaka to do a very special job. They need to whip out the Dungeon Busters management department. He wants to create a website for people who want to be adventurers and explore dungeons. Tanaka wonders if it's doable. He looks at the site, and it's bland. They need interesting features like card browsing, dungeon strategies, and video updates. He can even get his manga circle to revamp it. Kazuhiko tells him to hire whoever he wants. In 2 days he should work in the dungeon, and on the remaining 3 days he should work on the homepage. Tanaka finds it exciting. He doesn't have to be an adventurer full-time, and to save the world, they need to form a lot of hero parties. So he's basically in charge of getting new members to join. He promises to do his best. Kazuhiko tells him that right now they're making their own headquarters, and once it's finished he wants Tanaka to move out of his current apartment and join them. Tanaka starts overthinking. What about the year-end comic sale? And what about the limited edition figure he wants to get? Kazuhiko just smiles and tells him to move in already. After all, the biggest revolutionaries of the world, Galileo, Newton and Einstein were otaku at heart, so they have a strong ally in Tanaka. Next up, Akira goes on press, introducing himself and telling the world that they have a new exercise plan called the Dungeon Boot Camp. The biggest feature is super instant results. In only a day, their family and friends will not be able to recognize them. All they need to do is check the weight and sign up. The director asks Kazuhiko if it's a lie. After all, it takes a whole month in the dungeon. Shouldn't the diet take 2 weeks? Kazuhiko smirks, telling her it's not a lie. They've written in tiny print that they're talking about 1 day, surface level time. The director holds her head, telling him that he sounds like a con artist. Whatever gets the applications rolling. Thanks to Tanaka, the website is doing great, and more people are applying. That's promising. Even though the results may vary from individual to individual, in only 10 hours, they will really change themselves at boot camp, losing 10 to 15 kgs, and it is scheduled every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. They are the first ones to put enhancement factors in practical use. As long as they keep fighting in the dungeon, they'll get stronger. That's great for adventures, but it also raises some questions about security. What if the wrong guys get strong? They need to filter out criminals. Since they don't have experience or enough samples, they can't do that right now. Right now they just need to focus on their public image. At a ranked dungeon, Abyss Kazuhiko excitedly tells everyone he's got permission to enter the dungeons in Sapporo, Sendai, and Osaka. The applications for boot camps are also flooding. Akira is excited because he was bored of fighting orcs all the time. Tanaka is also glad. Akira is a pure melee fighter. He doesn't rely on swords and arrows but on pure hands. That's why the flying squirrel was troublesome since it uses fire magic. Amelia wonders about fire magic and what kind of monsters are on the 2nd floor of the dungeon. Mari remembers that no one has explored it yet. Kazuhiko brings out the flying squirrel card, handing it to Mari. Mari immediately summons the fluffy creature and is glad to have her second pet. Even though it's an evil flying squirrel, she's glad to have it. Miyu and the squirrel talk for a moment and dap each other up. They're surprised to see that different monsters can communicate. On Christmas Eve, everyone is busy with their own lives. It's been 36 days since the last dungeon appeared, so there's a high possibility that a new one will emerge today. Kazuhiko notices everyone is on edge. Akira, being somewhat normal, spends 2 days with his girlfriend, probably showing off his new physique and woody gains. Tanaka is busy with some event, and Mari is having a party with her friends. The director asks how many candidates there are this time. A whopping 45,000 have signed up. She then asks him if he's alone today, and he replies that he's given everyone off. He'll be wrapping everything soon. Akira seems really popular, since he's a world champion and looks like he won't be getting much sleep. The director whispers that it looks like they won't be getting much sleep either, since today is the 36th day since the last dungeon appeared. They're not sure when the new one will appear. Kazuhiko laughs, telling her she's right. Spending the night like this isn't too bad. Buried in paperwork is just part of the job. All of a sudden his cell phone flashes and the news reports a new dungeon appearing in Park City. Residents are surrounding the area and are told to remain indoors. The director asks if he can take care of it, and he smiles. The dungeon busters will arrive there in a jiffy. The army has surrounded the newly formed dungeon, telling everyone to stay away. It's dangerous. Kazuhiko arrives in the nick of time and everyone treats him like a celebrity. They are reassured that he is here, and they even want to join dungeon busters. Kazuhiko introduces himself, and the director is glad that he is here, even though he is a bit late. The dungeon appeared while the kids were playing around. One of them was even sucked in, but was saved by a grown-up. Kazuhiko is relieved that there were no accidents, and asks about the investigation. Turns out it hasn't started yet. It looks like Kazuhiko's timing is perfect. He whips out his compact Kazuhiko that is full of dungeon combat gear, with weapons, potions, and cards, and even a flashlight. The director is glad that she can rely on Kazuhiko for the investigation. The 1st Airborne Brigade is also going to go with him, so that they can feel at ease. As she talks about the reward, Kazuhiko just settles for a drink when they are drunk. Like a smooth operator, he has asked the hot MILF out on a drink on Christmas Eve, and she accepts. Normally Christmas Eve is full of people and holiday cheer, but due to the dungeon's appearance, Christmas shopping has to be cut short, and the only broadcast is the investigation. The dungeon has been covered with a blue tarp so no one enters it. The soldiers introduce themselves as members of the Airborne Brigade, and this is the first time they will have a joint investigation with a civilian. Kazuhiko appreciates it, and they start adventuring. The first monster they see is a centipede-like bug. Both of the soldiers freak out. It's a centimeter long and poisonous. Kazuhiko kills it in the blink of an eye. They wonder if it's closer to F rank than E, because it's weaker. Kazuhiko reminds them to wash their backs because they are stronger than the rabbits they faced in the dungeon earlier. He makes short work of the monsters and realizes it might be rank C or close to B, but he can't compare them properly since he has only explored limited dungeons. He keeps on adventuring. Later they retrieved the camera and as much footage as it could record before the battery ran out. It has the same pattern as the old dungeon, and the magic stones were slightly bigger. The director is glad that everything is going well. The soldiers wonder if bug spray would work on the centipedes, and also wonder where Kazuhiko got that shovel. Even the director is curious, but lets it slide for now. She is just glad that Kazuhiko was here to help out. The press covers his heroic deed as he bashes the centipedes with his shovel. He then returns to his own private dungeon to see Emily summoning a literal devil to kill off a bunch of goblins. Talk about overkill. Akane tells Kazuhiko that she wiped out all the C-rank goblin soldiers. Just a few of them are scattered. Kazuhiko decides to finish off the remaining ones. After they are done, Emily has a big head from her amazing explosion magic, but Kazuhiko drags her to the reality that she should just cast explosion magic on herself. Akane is amazed by how high his battle IQ is. Kazuhiko comes up with a strategy that they should protect Emily from 3 sides in teams of 2, so that when she casts fire magic they can kill off the remaining soldiers while protecting her. She even thinks about using a stone bullet for long-range attacks. Akane nervously points out that though it might be effective, what if the enemy is attacked from a single direction? Later he meets up with the director for the promise of a drink. She was swamped with paperwork and wondered if he really wanted that drink today. He apologizes because he had some free time on hand and why not? The director tells him that she would be alone if she went home tonight, so they might as well drink. They share beer and grilled meat. Kazuhiko tells her that they will be splitting the bill, since he is a government worker, and he doesn't want this to be classified as a bribe. The director remembers how he scored in the top 30 in the first exam, and the top 20 were black belts or martial artists. But a man in his 40s who works a sitting job blew them all off, so she is curious about how he is so powerful, and how he can predict what will happen with the dungeons. Kazuhiko tries to sell the story that he is just a regular salaryman, with decent reflexes, but she doesn't buy it. He is much more than an average salaryman, and she even knows that he stood side by side with Akira to make short work of the rabbit monsters. He is just too strong. Kazuhiko sighs and realizes he will have to let the cat out of the bag. The only people who know the truth are members of Dungeon Busters and the captain. He is actually the first one who came in contact with a dungeon, and he is the one who activated the system. Akira is being annoyed by his sister, who is nagging about not spending time together. Mari is having subai with her grandma, and she sees her uncle on TV and is glad to be related to him. Kazuhiko is then dropped off after splitting the bill on a bridge. He looks at the moon shining beautifully and silently. He wonders what the next year will hold for him. Only 10 years and 6 months are left. Since the first dungeon, Abyss has appeared. He has been doing everything he can. He might be taken out along the way because that is the life of an adventurer, but he is glad that he got to live through the new year, and it looks like the next year is going to be even busier. Soldiers are gasping for breath, holding the wounded in their arms and telling each other to cover the rear. They're in a blind spot. They need to protect their backs, but a slash of blood silences their voices. A man with horrible taste in makeup arrives, looking at a kernel of wheat and wondering why. Defeating the strange creatures produces food. A girl with a blank stare just sits there, as the wannabe Joker says that there must be a lot of starving people out there. A silent voice wonders if what they're doing is right or a mistake, as Joker summons multiple demons with gaping maws and blazing eyes, laughing hysterically and setting the dungeon ablaze. It's finally New Year's, and dungeon busters are gathered in a local fish food joint. Tanaka is amazed by the sushi he's having. It really is amazing. Kazuhiko smiles, with dungeons popping up left and right. The fishermen are still going out at sea, and their lives are unaffected. They talk about the festival, and since monsters don't emerge from the dungeons, they can even hold an event. Akira is worried about the other force members. Tanaka talks about everything that has happened throughout the year. At the end of the year, a new dungeon popped up, and the dungeon investigation is going on. They have this schedule tightly packed. Everyone is in high spirits to check them out, and Bossman brings them a fresh round of sushi on the house for the beloved dungeon busters. Later, Kazuhiko gets a video call from the director, looking as delicious as ever with those massive marshmallows. She asks him if he's enjoying his little break. Kazuhiko is surprised to learn that she went to boot camp. She shines, telling Kazuhiko that she did the full program for a whole day in real life, and she's been hit on for the first time in ages. Kazuhiko is a little nervous as there's a lot to unpack in that statement. He then asks what he can do for her. She explains that the first floor of the Saporro dungeon spawns slimes that are weak enough to be crushed underfoot. They don't drop cards on magic stones, completely worthless, so she was hoping that the dungeon busters could investigate. They have 480 hours worth of video footage. What she wants him to do is smash the dungeon for her, since it doesn't produce anything of value, and the maintenance is costing them a lot. As Japan is the first country to recruit adventurers, eliminating one would be an incredible PR move. The dungeon busters accept the request, promising to investigate the lowest floor and establish an official extermination record. The director is glad and promises food and clothing for them, and if they're talking about the reward, they'll handle it later. As she already has the General Assembly approval, things are clear on her end, and she's glad that everything will be arranged. She cuts off the transmission by telling them that she's counting on the dungeon busters. Akira tells Kazuhiko that he has terrible taste in women. Out of all the people he could date, including Akane, he chose the director Tanaka. On the other hand, turns freaky, wanting her to tell him to kneel. She indeed helped him out a lot. Later in the Saporro dungeon, he brings up Akane from the card, wanting to hear what she thinks about the baby slimes. She confirms that these are baby slimes, so weak that they don't even qualify as monsters, and the depth of the dungeon should be 6 to 7 floors. Kazuhiko wonders if it would be possible for the three of them to clear it. Akane tells him that it depends on whether it's a D rank. Then yes, he thanks her and tells her to return to the card, but she has something else in mind. She leans closer until her marshmallows are squished against his chest, saying that since New Year's her body has felt lonely. She wants him to toast her buns, as it's been quite a long time, feeling nervous that everyone is watching them. Kazuhiko freezes, and Akira teases, not to forget that they are still here. Tanaka, on the other hand, finds things heating up. The dungeon extermination quest begins, and Kazuhiko promises to complete the quest in the first round. They have helmets with small cameras attached, but as they will shake, they might get shaky footage, but it's important for the Ministry of Defense. Tanaka is on mapping duty. For humanity to progress, they need to map and capture everything to the deepest part of the dungeon. Kazuhiko asks Tanaka if he's going to hesitate to kill monsters. He just smiles. He's part of the filming crew, and they're on killing duty. As Kazuhiko has a magnetic personality, he will probably gather more than 100 adventurers in the future, forming a large clan. A support team will be needed, and that's where Tanaka will fit in, so that he can support the heroes gathering from all around the world. That's the fulfilling life he always craved. They continue popping slimes left and right. It's still baby slimes, weaker than ever before. They are on the first floor and Tanaka keeps shooting. Every slime the others pop. The slimes on the second floor are a little bigger. They are supposed to have resistance to physical attacks, but he still manages to kill them. Kazuhiko finds it surprisingly easy, and wonders if this really is the extent of the dungeon. They can't even call these slimes monsters, but as the ones on the second floor are kind of bigger, they might be kid slimes instead of baby ones. They decide to investigate further after 2 hours, and then move to the third floor. In the meantime, Kazuhiko whips out the portable cooker and makes fried rice. After all, eating is important while exploring. They finish eating quickly and explore the third floor, where they finally manage to encounter decent monsters. A horde of goblins. Akira is pumped. Finally some action. They start killing the goblins and receive magical stones, but their quality and size are smaller than the others they've received. They decide that this dungeon is complete trash. Not worth it. It's only natural that the Bureau wouldn't want to keep it operational. They hit a dead end and wonder what they should do. All dungeons were supposed to have grid-like structures. Tanaka is tasked with developing an app that can automatically map dungeon mazes. It's still in development. Right now, they can register by steps how big the dungeon is, and then they will use a tablet to refine it. Kazuhiko decides to head to the entrance for now, and they will try another route later. They manage to get on the 4th floor, and the layout is getting more maze-like. Kazuhiko tells Tanaka to map it out. Akira says that he's been mapping it until now. They come face to face with a slightly bigger and uglier goblin, a hobgoblin. The team is excited because this is their first real challenge. Bigger than goblins and still using a weapon. The hobgoblin rushes towards Kazuhiko, but Kazuhiko kicks it in the gut and vaporizes it. Everyone compliments Kazuhiko on a job well done. In a single hit, he took down a D-ranked enemy. The mapping is also going along smoothly, ready to start mapping in the app. Kazuhiko asks Tanaka how the mapping is going. Tanaka tells them that this is valuable information they're recording for the future generation. The web style is still incomplete, but there's a lot of traffic coming from all around the world. If they didn't have the largest company in Japan as their server, they would have burned up. Kazuhiko is excited that the adventure system is attracting attention. They just need to keep pushing forward. Tanaka agrees, as Dungeon Busters members don't use their skills or magic for personal gain. Everyone has something valuable to protect. On the 5th floor, they encounter the first real slime in ages. It's 50 centimeters tall, and when Akira tries to crush it with a blow, it just bounces back. He's surprised to learn that it's resistant to physical damage. Even when Kazuhiko tries to stomp on it, it just pushes his foot back. Resistance to physical and blunt attacks. Akira comes up with a new way by whipping out his spear, ready to try something new. He had the spear card from the start and learned some techniques on a short-term exchange program when he went to Asia. He handles the spear like a pro and brings the slime to an end. Tanaka records everything. They get a 4-gram magic stone bigger than the last one. Kazuhiko can't believe how quickly he adapted, and if he reaches C rank, he might be stronger than Kazuhiko. Akira thanks him. Fighting monsters gets his blood pumping, though he's not sure if he could ever be as strong as Kazuhiko. Kazuhiko brings out his own sword. It's a sharp weapon, and he wants to try to cut through the slime. He tries to cut through the slime, but it resists. He goes for another strike, and it still bounces off. The director is waiting for them, and the brief. After that boot camp training session, her marshmallows are even perkier than ever. Staring at those massive rack, she gets nervous and asks Kazuhiko if there's something on her face. Even though he was not looking anywhere near her face, Kazuhiko gives her the details that they have reached the 5th floor so far. At this rate, they should get to the lowest floor smoothly. As the world's leading dungeon expert, she wants his opinion. He says that when they reach the lowest floor, they should retreat and assess the situation before making a decision. The director agrees and wants to go with that plan. She has no idea what awaits them on the lowest floor, so she tells them to be careful. Things are getting trickier with electric bats roaming around the 6th layer. The team is ready to beat them to a bloody pulp. Akira whips out his quad impact punches to blast the bats away. Everyone looks at him in amazement as he smiles, saying that he's arrived at the realm of superhumans. But he's just kidding. He's far from that realm. They keep pushing forward in high spirits. Akira finally reaches C rank, and everyone congratulates him. He tells Kazuhiko it's all thanks to his training. He's been fighting non-stop from Shishibone to Yokohama, and now Saporro. They've defeated tons of monsters. Tanaka is glad and pumped that he's also got to defeat monsters of the same rank for a promotion. Though the road feels long, the journey is full of brotherhood. Kazuhiko is looking forward to seeing how Akira progresses, and Akira is excited to catch up to the world champion of the Dungeon Busters. Tanaka also levels up. He ranks up from F rank to E rank. Everyone congratulates him, but surprisingly, he doesn't have any skills. He wonders if it's because he's a loser and hasn't fought much. Kazuhiko decides to whip out Akane to ask her what's going on. She arrives looking completely relaxed. They ask her about the skill issue and why he didn't get a skill. She replies that it's because they acquire skills through skill orbs. In the case of Akira, it's due to his martial arts background. And as for Kazuhiko, his strong desire to explore dungeons led to the discovery of his skill. Tanaka, on the other hand, is a lost soul for now. As he doesn't have much combat experience, he doesn't get a fighting skill, and he doesn't even have an aptitude for magic. Maybe that's why he didn't get a skill. This completely breaks Tanaka, and he's in low spirits. Kazuhiko wonders why Mari got a skill. Mari got a skill because she had a high aptitude for holy magic. Magical skills require a matching aptitude. Akane tries to cheer Tanaka up, telling him that the more he explores, the clearer his aptitude will become. He's grateful for her attempt but is still down. Kazuhiko tells him that maybe his next skill will be programming or something. With tears in his eyes, he really wants something like hacking or modeling. Akira tells him to keep his spirits high. They'll see how amazing he is once they reach the end of the dungeon. They really hope that they can figure out what's going on at the end. They reach the 7th level, which is the final layer of the dungeon. It's a straight-up path with no mazes. Akira and Kazuhiko are worried about being surrounded here. They are on high alert. Walking calmly towards the end, they wonder why there are no monsters over here. They still can't see the path ending and walk carefully. Tanaka freezes and doesn't say a word. They ask him what's wrong. Are his feet hurting? He yelps, telling them to look at the ceiling. Sure enough, it shows a picture of a hand closing around an orb. They wonder what it looks like. It looks like a hand placing a ball on a billiards table. Tanaka captures it with his camera, and Akira wonders if they should go back. Kazuhiko wants to see the end of the path. It ends in a door, and that's the deepest point of the dungeon. They decide to leave, and assume that the relief represents a god creating a universe. If that's the case, then it's clear that the dungeon is not natural but man-made, or else who made that picture? Taking a shot at the door, they decide to head back for now and consult the director. The director is happy with her transformation, and the button on her blouse is fighting for its life, trying to cover her massive marshmallows. Kazuhiko is still not distracted, and goes straight to the point. They shouldn't destroy the dungeons, at least not at this stage. There is a picture at the end of the dungeon, and it shows signs of human civilization. The director is amazed. So far there are no traces of civilization. This is the first time they have found something. She asks what Akane and Emily think about it. Kazuhiko promises to check with them later, but he believes that relief will be found in every last layer of the dungeon. They need to decipher it and preserve it. She agrees and decides to leave the dungeon conquering to him. He doesn't need to destroy them, but get ownership. Later he approaches Tanaka, asking him to show Kazuhiko the relief. Tanaka is happy that he can film without shaking now. With the latest software, they're making good progress. Akira is also glad. With nothing out of the ordinary happening, they decide to share a meal, promising to ask Akane and Emily later if they know something. Akane congratulates the team on reaching the lowest level. It's thanks to Kazuhiko's leadership. Kazuhiko also thanks her and gets straight to the point, showing her the relief and asking if she knows anything about it. She apologizes since she doesn't know, and neither does Emily, but something about it gives them a strange, restless feeling. She feels a vague sense of déjà vu, seeing the picture, but it feels as if the dungeon system erased their memories. She feels as if it's something important, something never to be forgotten, but she can't remember it, and neither can Emily. Kazuhiko thanks them and tells them to return to their cards. The relief that shows an uneasy feeling to 2 of the 108 legendary pillars must mean something, or it must lead to something about the identity of the designer. They reach the end of the door, and here the guardian is supposed to reside. They need to beat the boss to get the dungeon core. Akante tells him to be cautious with how abnormal this dungeon has been. There might be 2 or more bosses. Kazuhiko tells them that if things get tricky, he will summon them both, and they will look at the picture some other time. He tells both of the baddies to get back into their cards, and they immediately obey. He pockets the cards and tells his crew to get rolling. They have a dungeon boss to tackle. Akira is all set, and Tanaka is in high spirits. As soon as they open the door, they see a massive monster sitting there, aura farming. Electricity crackles around it. This beast is a C-rank monster, a minotaur. Kazuhiko and Akira wonder why a C-rank monster is in a D-rank dungeon. This shaggy beast looks seriously dangerous. He tells Tanaka to keep the film rolling. They need to record everything. The minotaur, realizing it has due playthings, roars. The roar sends shockwaves through the room, but it doesn't dampen the spirit of our heroes. Akira asks Kazuhiko what the plan is, and Kazuhiko tells him to be ready while he slashes the weapon out of its hand. All Akira needs to do is dodge the axe and slip into range. The minotaur doesn't care about plans but brute strength. It rushes towards our heroes, and Kazuhiko manages to parry the blow with his sword. At that moment, Akira steps in and unleashes a flurry of punches at the minotaur. Before he can land the last blow, the minotaur punches him straight into a wall. Tanaka asks Akira if he's alright, and he just smiles. He blocked it with his shoulder, but to take his ultimate move without a scratch is embarrassing. Kazuhiko tells them to take a closer look at the monster. It's unsteady because of those punches. He summons his blade. Akira asks Big Bro if they should summon the baddies to support them, but Kazuhiko disagrees. How can he stand to be an explorer if he can't take down something like that by himself? The minotaur screeches, holding its axe in its hand and bringing it down on Kazuhiko. Kazuhiko dodges and smiles, relishing the battle and parrying the blow with his sword. It does deflect the axe, but he's still hit in the shoulder. But he doesn't care and slashes the beast from head to toe. Tanaka yells at Kazuhiko not to push himself too hard. He's huffing exhaustion, covered in scratches and sweat. They both rush towards Kazuhiko, telling him to take it easy. They are both replaceable, but Kazuhiko is one of a kind. Kazuhiko smiles and is glad he managed to take down the monster with his blade. The monster evaporates into a column of mist, and the core finally arrives, floating in the middle of a sea of light. Akira is glad that they completed the mission without any hiccups. Kazuhiko touches the core, and a status window informs them that they can claim administrative rights. Kazuhiko claims the dungeon as his own, and as the conqueror they gets a card. As a first conqueror bonus, the first card they receive is Fist Emperor, Liu Fong Guan. The card materializes a muscular man with the physique of a Greek god. This is the god who has mastered all forms of hand-to-hand combat. Liu Fong just smirks, asking who has summoned him. The ethereal core blazes with power, as the god of hands looks at Kazuhiko and the crew with a piercing gaze. His whole aura creates pressure, and his bulging muscles and traps make it hard for them to concentrate. Kazuhiko still musters up the courage to introduce himself, and wonders why an old white-haired dude is their reward instead of smoking hot babes. Akira tells Kazuhiko to apologize because this guy is dangerous. Tanaka also agrees because he is the god of martial arts, mastering every form of combat. The Fist Emperor Lu Fong, the old man, smiles, saying that he's lived for hundreds of years and has never fallen so far, so he can't be underestimated by youngsters. Kazuhiko finally recognizes his aura and life force to be on a completely different level. He takes a knee, apologizing for being rude. Liu Fong is surprised by Kazuhiko's humility and recognizes him as a worthy leader who accepts his mistakes and apologizes. Kazuhiko introduces himself as a C-ranked adventurer and apologizes that the dungeon hasn't been fully cleared yet. He asks Liu Fong to accept him as his master, and he'll explain things later, but he should return to his cart for now. Liu Fong makes it clear that he serves no man. However, if they are in a bind, he is willing to lend a helping hand. They can call him when they need his strength. He immediately zooms towards Kazuhiko and crystallizes into a card. Kazuhiko looks at the stats. He is a legendary unarmed fighter. Kazuhiko is glad for the amazing card he got. He then turns off the stampede for the dungeon and finishes up everything. A bright light flashes, and the live feed is cut off. The director looks at it wondering what it means. The feed shows a large number of seconds. She realizes it's likely time until the monsters stampede, and it means around 10 years in surface time. The timer paused, maybe because all the dungeons are still operational, so maybe there are more dungeons to emerge, and that can be proof that the monster stampede might really happen. Kazuhiko tells the director that they can't rely on the single dungeon they just cleared. They need to check others soon. The existence of character cards will also be public knowledge. The director huffs in exhaustion because managing all of these wild cards is out of her pay grade. She needs to talk to the vice minister and form a government response if the cards can be manifested on the surface. With all the problems she is taking care of, she kind of regrets getting into the dungeon business. Kazuhiko teases her that he'll pretend not to hear her. Without her, they wouldn't have gotten into the dungeon. The admin team is more important than the adventurers, and he'll say that to the public in the next interview. The director is touched and tells them to get a good rest tonight. She also realizes that Kazuhiko is right. If things continue like this, humanity may be wiped out by a monster stampede someday. She also whispers that if this is the work of a god, it must be an evil one. For what kind of god do they want to extinguish mankind? This is the biggest threat they've ever faced, and if they need to meet it head-on, they need to prepare themselves by taking care of the dungeons. The next day, the news shows that dungeon busters have successfully cleared the dungeon and have arrived at 6 p.m. and a friend are looking at the news, and a friend asks if that's her uncle they're talking about. The first dungeon conquest comes to an end, and more boys want to meet her uncle. She smiles warmly and loves her uncle who's all over the news. When he came to pick her up at her house, some of her classmates saw it, and the news spread throughout school. Now she's something of an idol at school. Her friend asks if she wants to become an adventurer as well after graduation. She's not sure and takes a bite of her cake, saying that her mom tells her to do whatever she wants, and her uncle wants her to go to college. The friend smirks, saying that she has it all: beauty, strength, and a badass uncle. She's been blessed. She just laughs and wonders if they should go sing karaoke later. Meanwhile, the dungeon busters are busy fighting an epic battle over who gets the last piece of meat at a restaurant. Akira tells Tanaka to eat his veggies and not just meat, but Tanaka tells him that he's a growing boy and needs it. The news is still talking about their success over the first dungeon conquest in history. Tanaka whispers that he's an E rank and he needs protein, so he deserves that meat. The press release information about the dungeon core, an object that, when touched, displayed a weird timer, and also revealed that the dungeon is dungeon number 103, and the phrase monster stampede is noteworthy. Tanaka realizes it's been released to the public. He decides to check with the bureau later while we wait for the next job. The director is talking about how dungeon busters agreed to help them out investigate the dungeon for free and completed it without any compensation. Akira and the gang realize that they should head back to Susukino later. They should hit the town after finishing eating. After all, they've been partying 2 nights in a row. With another successful hunt, the party ends on a high note. The director reminds them that they are public figures and can't drink until they are wasted in public. Our boy doesn't even remember what happened until he blacked out. His memory is just a blank. The director is not happy, but decides to deal with what they have on hand. They need to think about the stampede, and she is putting together a team to research special defense forces. And she wants Kazuhiko to guide them to the deepest part of the dungeon. She also needs the dungeon busters to return to Tokyo as well, so they can hear their input. Kazuhiko wonders if they should explain things to other adventurers. The director says that they are still confirming their policy. The initial objective was just to get as many magic stones as possible. Speaking of magic stones, he asks about the progress of the power plant. She replies that they have finished making a gigantic hydrogen gas turbine, and he will get more details once they land in Tokyo. He asks the rest of the busters if they have packed up their things because they are going back to Tokyo, because they have a briefing with the Tokyo Self-Defense Force. They finally arrive at the Ministry of Defense while Kazuhiko is smoking a cigarette to take the edge off. The director approaches him and points out that he doesn't look so good. With so many inquiries coming his way, he is swamped with paperwork and can't get everything done on his own. The director reminds him that he is also getting a lot of support from the public. Even the cabinet approves of him. Hearing about the cabinet puts him in a bad mood because he wants nothing to do with politics. He is only supporting them because there is no one else who can handle it. If they ever pass a law banning dungeon raids, he will be against it. The director reassures him that they will adopt the dungeon as a national policy soon. He asks what the situation is with the boot camp, and she replies that 29 graduates are waiting for him, and that's the reason she called him. She wants him to explain what he saw in the dungeon, the pressure from the Minotaur, and what the newbies can expect so that they can endure the stampede. Kazuhiko realizes that he is just here to give a pep talk to the rookies, but he is not against it. They head towards the conference room in the building because that's where the future of dungeon raids is waiting for him. 6 months before the new recruits were gathered, Beauty was practicing her swordsmanship with her master. This is Rinko, a first-year student at the club and the assistant instructor. Everyone looks up to her, and she just smiles, telling her students to look at her carefully. She finally returns, and a kind-looking man greets her, asking about her club activities. This is Saya, here to the sword style she practices. Rinko smiles, telling him that everything went great, and they are also getting some good practice for the tournament. She is glad that she has the drive to improve. They look at the news, talk about Akira, the hot topic, a rising star and a former world champion. Saya remembers being in the same grade school as Akira, and Rinko excitedly wonders if her big bro fought him, and since he is going to inherit the dojo, he is a big deal. He humbly tells her not to say that. Winning a one-on-one match isn't the goal of their style. Instead, they need the power to protect the ones they love. That's their family creed. She still wants her big brother to surpass someone like Kazuhiko. Speaking of Kazuhiko, the news shows his latest battle, how he started the boot camp, killed bunnies, and even took care of the dungeon boss. They look at him, and Rinko wonders who this old guy is. Saya replies that he is the one leading the dungeon busters. Observing his fighting skills, Rinko can't even see his slashes, but Saya greatly respects him and realizes that he is incredible, strong, and beyond human, and even he might not be able to beat this guy. Rinko is shaken that her big brother can't beat someone like Kazuhiko. He smiles, telling her that to become a dungeon adventurer, she needs to know how to fight monsters. That's where the killing techniques come into play. She needs to become more than human to survive and return alive. He is determined to teach her everything he knows. She practices diligently and vows, as the assistant instructor, that she will become an adventurer. She also wants to meet Kazuhiko, the man who caught her big brother's attention. She wants to see what true strength feels like, and that's why she wants to be an adventurer to meet him. Rinko is here to meet Kazuhiko, the rumored martial arts genius, to see if the strength he's built up as a martial artist holds against him. All of the graduates are sitting on desks patiently waiting for Kazuhiko to arrive. Everyone is uneasy and nervous to meet the legendary Kazuhiko. Rinko observes 29 people, all here for the same purpose. Most of them are built like a tank, but everyone is still on edge. If she thinks back to the boot camp, it was really intense, adding extra weights, intentionally fighting bare-handed without her trusty sword, and that awful stink everyone had from the sweat, and no toilet paper, and bathing with guys almost broke her down mentally. She might be a swordswoman, but she's still a girl. After a month of that hard training, she finally became an adventurer, and is now filled with a sense of purpose. Her eyes shine as she darts around the room, looking for Kazuhiko and wondering what kind of person he is. Speaking of Kazuhiko, he pulls up from behind the classroom. Everyone turns their head and is amazed by his aura. Kazuhiko is also amazed that there are so many strong people over here, and he even wants to take a picture. Rinko smiles and gets out of her chair. Akira asks Kazuhiko what he thinks about the intense faces over here. Does he feel secure? He is just glad that there are people who survived the boot camp. They must be top fighters from across the company and the country. He looks at her hand reaching out for him. Rinko introduces herself as the assistant instructor of the Kusubai's traditional martial art dojo. She smiles, saying it's an honor to meet him. Tanaka can't believe that such a baddie is out here with a female knight persona like an isekai story. Kazuhiko smiles, introducing himself as the leader of Dungeon Busters, and someone who's not the strongest but a middle-aged man far from the world of martial arts. Rinko is touched by how composed and mature he is. She wonders if he is stronger than the juniors, since she is only a ranked E adventurer. Kazuhiko smiles, telling them that there's only a difference in experience. Soon she will be a D ranker, or a C ranker. She thanks him and gets back to her seat. The director arrives asking everyone the reason why they are gathered here, which is to share new information about the dungeons. At the current rate, humanity will perish. At the last dungeon, they confirm that the stampede will happen sooner or later. The only ones that can stop humanity from being wiped out are the adventurers, and that's why it's a request but not a command that they need to prevent it. There are mixed feelings for the adventurers, since most of them are here for money. She explains that there will be two categories of adventurers. Some are gatherers who will collect stones, and they should leave, since that's it for their explanation. And those who want to be slayers, who want to clear the dungeon, should stay. One by one, all of the graduates leave, and the group looks at the silent room in remorse. The director can believe that there are no slayers. The recruitment gang did push money as the biggest reward, but it's still a little disappointing. Tanaka says that it would be more exciting if some stayed, and Kazuhiko tells them that it depends on the person. If none of the people are willing to stand with them, then that's just how it is. Footsteps echo in the empty classroom as two guys introduce themselves. One of them is Sumida, a former sumo wrestler who wants to be a slayer. The other is Junpei, who wants to quit his banking job and have a more exciting life. The last one is Rinko, who is a martial artist and wants to solve the dungeon problem. Kazuhiko and the group are glad to have some quality recruits. He explains that they are going to build a base for the Busters, and he will explain the details later. Back in his home dungeon, Lou smiles, patting Mari's head and telling her that she reminds him of his granddaughter. She asks if she should call him Grandpa Lou, and he accepts. He likes her better than the guys since they are so thoughtless. Speaking of guys, Akira asks Lou to have a match with him, smiles and tells him not to call him Master Roshi. Since he is still young, he should call him Shifu. Kazuhiko notices how lively everything is. He then walks up to Lou saying that he doesn't know how to throw hands properly, and after what he experienced on the 4th floor, he realized that it is impossible to just fight with brute force anymore. He needs techniques. He kneels in front of Lou asking the god of hands to teach him how to fight. Lou is excited and wonders why, since most first contract adventurers just use dungeons for fun or mess around with Akane. He doesn't mind teaching him, but he wants to know why he fights, what drives him. Time and time again, countless worlds have fallen to the dungeon system. Trying to clear the dungeons is like waving an angry fist at the heavens. Most people give up and live their final decade laughing. Kazuhiko smiles, relishing the challenge and saying that he is not like most people. Everyone holds their breath, waiting for his answer. Is it a sense of responsibility that drives him, or greed wanting the riches in the dungeons, or fame and recognition from others? Kazuhiko smiles, saying that there are a few reasons. First, he has friends and family he wants to protect. Second, there's a stubborn curiosity inside of him. He wants to see it all unfold. He wants to see who designed the dungeons, what the meaning of the system is, and what happens to the world after everything is cleared. He also wants Akane and Emily to live normally as humans. After everything is over, he wants to meet the creator and asks how it feels to have his system folded. Everyone is satisfied with his answer, and Tanaka calls him a cool dude. Even Mari is glad to have him as her uncle, and Lou busts out laughing, saying this is the first time a first contract adventure has a clear will. He decides to move to the 1st floor, since he needs to raise his rank as well, and he's also willing to observe every one of their moves so he can give them hands-on instructions personally. Back at the A-rank dungeon abyss, goblins are being beaten down by the dozens. Kazuhiko feels something is off, and Akira asks what it is. There are way too many goblins today. Usually they have to walk around a little before finding some, but today they are attracted to them. Liko, on the other hand, is having the time of his life, beating goblins to a bloody pulp and laughing, even instructing them that when they are up against a lot of enemies, they should take them down one after another with a single punch. He shows off his skilled footwork and powerful moves, eliminating wasteful movements. The goblins are reduced to scraps of meat, and both of the youngsters look at the warrior in awe. Akira recognizes all of his moves and how beautiful they are. Akina tells Kazuhiko that it's part of Lou's skill, mentor and disciple training. He can attract monsters, which allows them to absorb enhanced factors at a faster rate. That's a really useful skill to power up and level up. Akira asks Lou if he can try the moves as well, and the old-timer laughs, telling him to knock himself out. He already has the basics down, It's all about shifting their gravity. When Kazuhiko asks if he can try it out, the old god just laughs, saying that he doesn't have the basics down, so this should leave it to the champion. Kazuhiko is a little bit offended. Since he has some training, he wants to try it as well. Leo promises to watch him do it after Akira. Akira starts demonstrating the moves under the god's watchful eye. Kazuhiko notices how easygoing and good a mentor Leo is. He has already confirmed that he is a powerful martial artist with a unique skill card. Thanks to the card, roughly 800 goblins gather per hour. They are blessed to be able to farm goblins and XP, and the next generation of adventurers can be trained faster. His card is really promising for the future of dungeon busters. Little Kazuhiko is practicing his hand-to-hand combat moves. Something is cooking up in the United States of Rika. In the Defense Corps, the chief asks his secretary what it is. The secretary has all the materials he requested. He reviews everything, also asking the secretary to call him guildmaster, not chief. He goes through Kazuhiko's file, and everything he has written and documented about the first dungeon conquest. He looks at the headlines talking about him and wonders if he is a little bit suspicious. The secretary tells him that he is a global sensation. The guildmaster can't wrap his head around why a 40-year-old consultant would want to become an adventurer. It's like a chess player switching to a pro wrestler. The secretary wonders if it's because of the pay, or maybe a sense of duty, or he wants to be a hero. The guildmaster is still skeptical. Guildmaster Isaac wonders how he knows that they can get 100 yen per gram, and how he knows how many grams he can get in a day. As a light novel-obsessed otaku, he understands, but why would an old boomer sign up for it? He goes through the end-of-year interview Kazuhiko had with the press, and from how he was acting it's clear that he is serious about clearing the dungeon. There's some real determination in his eyes, but Isaac can't help but wonder where this determination comes from. He speaks with such intensity as if dungeon conquest is a personal responsibility. Something clicks, and he asks his secretary to book him an appointment in Japan. He wants to meet with this Kazuhiko guy. There's something he wants to confirm with him. She smiles, promising to arrange his passport. Isaac is grateful and looks forward to his meeting with Kazuhiko. The Ministry of Defense is in uproar. Everyone is arguing about the characters that emerge from the cards in the dungeon. Some believe that they are not humans, even arguing that they should bring a human who can be carded, and he will admit he is wrong. Some argue that monsters are only animals, but never seen animals turn to ash. In other words, they might be robots. In Australia, environmental groups are arguing and protesting against dungeon raids. Some want to do the same in Japan, and some of them argue that the bugs in one of the dungeons should also be protected by these welfare groups. If not, then why are they selective? Kazuhiko doesn't care and is smoking a cigarette by himself in a forest. A voice tells him that the world is lovely and lively today. Everyone has some clever opinion on the dungeons. Maybe that's because of all the constant news coverage. He turns to see the rare actor looking at him with a smile. They decide to grab drinks later. Regarding the way the public will handle character cards, the Operation Bureau has decided to let the cardholders voice their concerns. Kazuhiko smiles, promising to handle it from here on out. The director has decided to hide the Great Stampede for now, using smaller stories as build-up. It will cause chaos no matter what, so she wants to hold on to that information a bit longer. After ordering her drink, they decided to go to another bar. After all, they have tomorrow off. And the director teases him that maybe she will keep him company all night. Later at home in the dungeon, both of the girls are amazed to see the flying squirrel pudding reach level 4 and rank D. Everyone wonders why Mari keeps fluffy pets around. A flying squirrel that can fly and breathe fire is kind of interesting. Lou smiles, telling them that Mari loves battling from a distance as a delicate maiden should. Why should she get into sweaty fistfights? Emily points out that she is the same age as Mari, and her master is 108. The old man reminds her that if they go by pure age, then she is thousands of years old. They are interrupted by Kazuhiko, who is glad to see that Pudding has grown and can now boss Mew around. They are finished with the Saporro dungeon, and now they can take a break. Their goal right now is for Akira and him to reach B rank and recruit new members. Mari is not sure about the new members. He explains that the trio went to interview some new members, and they finished boot camp and are ready for real battle. The old man realizes things are going to get lively down here, and Mari wonders what kind of people are joining them. Kazuhiko just smiles, telling them to wait and see. Tanaka points out that even if everyone heads to the abyss, the safe zones will be cramped. They should use Yokohama Dungeon instead. He decides to talk to each of the company dorms as well. The plan is to gather them all in Idagawa Ward. Until then, he wants everyone to just level up. Akane is glad that things are unfolding at full speed. Akira asks his big bro about the Osaka dungeon. He heard that it is an S-rank dungeon and too dangerous to even scout. He decides to leave it for now. Emily says that true vampires, ancient dragons, and even Fenrir might be there. Mythological beasts, and she is excited. Liu tells them that this is not the time to be nervous. Even though Fenrir is a big fluffy dog, he is glad to see that just within 5 months, the dungeons have been cleared and they have gone public. No first contact group has ever acted so quick. He looks at Kazuhiko with excitement, wondering if this can lead to something big. Akane, on the other hand, looks away nervously, as if feeling conflicted about something. In a rented conference room near the Yokohama dungeon, the new recruits are gathered. Rinko, Sumida, Suda, Amani, Hisato. He thanks them for gathering here today, introducing himself as a representative of Dungeon Busters. Rinko is glad, and everyone introduces themselves. Suda is a college student who is here to help clear the Osaka dungeon, and Amani is a 27-year-old hottie. Hisato is just here to score some potions. They are glad to meet everyone and ask the reason for joining. Amani says that she decided to resign while preparing detours around Yokohama and wants to be an adventurer. They will most probably see monsters emerging from the dungeons one day, so she doesn't want to be cooped up in her house and wants to do something. The Golden Trio sits in front of the new panel of adventurers, everyone looking grimly at them. He asks the new adventurers if they're willing to answer a few questions, and he appreciates their cooperation. First up is Amani, a former deputy police officer, and part of the career track. She explains that she graduated from college and joined the National Police Force. She worked setting up detours around the dungeon that appeared in the ward. Kazuhiko asks what makes her want to be an adventurer. Amani tells Kazuhiko that in just a year, they're likely to see criminals emerge that the current police can't tackle. There will be black market trading of magical cards, potions, and everything, and superhuman criminals will be hard to catch without the necessary police force. Kazuhiko asks about her views on the extermination, and she fully supports it because the existence of dungeons is nothing but harmful to humans. The real dungeon lies with the humans who gain superpowers from the dungeon, and she believes that he understands what she means. Kazuhiko smiles confidently and wonders if she's a gourmand mole or something. She is welcomed into Dungeon Busters. Next up, Sada is interviewed. He's a college dropout who wants to be an adventurer, and his only aim in life is to conquer the Osaka dungeon to avenge the death of his father, who died in the line of duty. They realize that one of the 2 police officers who went to investigate the dungeon on July 30th died, and this young man is his son. Kazuhiko apologizes for what happened to his father, and though they are struggling to conquer the Osaka dungeon, they're willing to help him out to carry out his revenge. He's welcomed into the Dungeon Busters as well. Lastly, Hisato is interviewed. Hisato tells them that his baby sister has a rare disease, a heart disease, and the only treatment is an organ transplant, which costs hundreds of millions of yen, and still she won't be able to live like a normal little girl. She's only 16 and life has been unfair to her. She's been in the hospital with a nasal tube all this time. When he heard that the woman who was attacked by a monster in the first test recovered fully thanks to a potion, he wanted to see it for himself. Tanaka and Akira look at Kazuhiko as he confirms the existence of that potion, though it is a rare item. The potion is called an extra potion that can even heal missing limbs and incurable diseases. Hisato is taken aback that his baby sister has really been cured by this potion. Kazuhiko offers to give him the potion at a price. What they're about to face is unknown and unimaginable, and he imagines that Hisato is here prepared for what he might face. The young man, without missing a beat, asks for its price. Kazuhiko asks Hisato to dedicate 10 years of his life to Dungeon Busters. Over the next 10 years, they will fight side by side, defy death again and again, and save the world. Hisato breathes a sigh of relief. If it will cure his sister, he's willing to offer even 30 years of his life. He makes it clear to everyone that dungeon slaying is their first priority. 300 dungeons have already appeared, and they need to exterminate everyone that will appear from now on, so they must negotiate a scheme and even lie. He tells the crew if they're ready to go down that path. If not, the door is wide open. Rinko smiles, agreeing with his methods. Amane tells him that her resolve is absolute, and she won't be leaving. Everyone else holds the same view. Sato, without avenging his dad's death, wouldn't leave even if the world forced him. He thanks them for their dedication, and asks how much faith they have in humanity. What would they do if they knew that the world would end in 10 years? The Dungeon Busters' greatest enemy is not the dungeons themselves but the people who adopt a doomsday mindset and prevent dungeon extermination. Their enemies are those who embrace the doomsday ideology, and he is glad that none of them share that way of thinking, so he welcomes them formally into the group. At the General Hospital, Hisato is running through the halls, and the nurses try to stop him as visiting hours are over. Hisato is just too pumped to see his sister for just a moment. They stop him because his sisters are not allowed visitors, and he can't show up without notice. He grabs the vial of extra portions, claiming that it can cure any disease. He wants to give it to his sister. They yell at him not to bring something so suspicious into the hospital. They try to wrestle it away from him, but he would rather die than give it up. The nurses put him in a headlock, telling him that he can't force strange substances into patients, but he tells them to let go. His sister is waiting for him. He calls out to his sister through the hallways. His sister is flipping through magazines. She sees his shadow in the hallway, and he arrives like a lunatic, telling her to get the medicine. She nervously wonders what's going on, but Hisato says that he's got the medicine from the busters. If she drinks it, her illness will vanish. She wonders if she can really drink it. All the nurses tell him to stop as the doctors haven't cleared them, but he refuses to listen to them and tells her to get it. The nurses yell at them to stop it already. Later, the big three of Dungeon Busters apologize for the problem their members have caused. He made a scene at the hospital and attracted a lot of negative attention. The chaos started with deciding if they could give the medicine or not, but he is now calm. He asks where Hisato is. They claim that he is with his sister, who is up in bed and sitting, looking healthy. They gasp in surprise as the doctor claims to have seen all kinds of illnesses, but this is the first time he has seen a miracle. Seeing his sister sit up with no pain has brought him immense relief. The doctor decides to handle this matter as a family issue, not something involving Dungeon Busters. He also asks Kazuhiko to support Hisato when he returns. The sky turns gray and Kazuhiko turns to the Busters, telling them that they are doing fine. Everyone should head back and they will regroup tomorrow. It's cruel to keep watching Hisato when he is exhausted. As everyone turns to leave, someone calls out Kazuhiko. It's Sato in his emo phase. He argues that Hisato has to give up 10 years of his life for a potion, and that's too much. Sato argues that since Busters are handing potions to the Japan Special Services, it's probably a dungeon drop, and 10 years is too heavy a price to pay for a potion. Kazuhiko scowls and reminds Little Emo that Dungeon Busters are there to support Japan Special Forces, but they are also a profit organization, not an NGO. This is Dungeon Busters, not Make-A-Wish. They can't help people for free. It's a transaction that he agreed to, and if this little emo punk doesn't like his methods, he is free to leave. Soto, surprisingly, decides to leave, and Kazuhiko enthusiastically tells him to take care. Soto is reminded that there are many forms of justice, and he should walk his own path. He angrily vows to surpass Kazuhiko in his own way, and just like that, he is gone, missing out on an opportunity of a lifetime. The others are surprised by his decision, but Kazuhiko has no obligation to stop him. With things calming down, he decides on his next mode of action. While Kazuhiko has been dealing with some heavy stuff, Mari is having the time of her life playing with her demon bunny and pudding. She is taking a break from dungeon adventures, and remembers when she was slowly taking in everything and getting used to fighting monsters. But now she is a pro. Her bunny nuzzles against her. Emily arrives, asking what she thinks about her new fit. She is sporting a high schooler look, complete with a skirt and a Kazuhiko. She has always been in mage clothes and wanted to try this on for a while. She even bought some magazines to put the fit together. She wants to go to one of the dungeons together, but Mari sadly reminds her that she is not 18 yet and can't go exploring on her own. Kazuhiko has been trying to initiate a newbie training program, but a lot of people oppose it since they worry about the effects on growing children regarding enhancement factors. Emily decides to tease her by poking her massive marshmallows, saying that if people knew that the enhancement factors made grapes into melons, they would definitely have a go at it. It turns out she has been grinding skeletal knights all night, and Pudding's fire magic really comes in handy. She can destroy 500 monsters an hour, getting 12 or 13 cards an hour. Her mom is cooking hard protein food for her to grow well. She is also going to start working at Buster's HQ at the end of March with new members on board. It's really coming together. Emily then decides to go change clothes again. In March, Dungeon Busters is hoping to open their new headquarters. The Buster girls are happily killing monsters together and doing typical girl stuff. Somewhere in South America, in a deep dungeon, Bootleg Joker just smirks and cleaves the entire wall, breaking walls and smirking in the process. The girl accompanying him just claps with an expressionless face, congratulating him on reaching C rank. The man smiles because now he can finally challenge that monster, and he'll also have to test how well it holds against modern weapons. He tells the girl that they'll be heading back home today. In the slum district, a tired man is finally returning home after a long day at work. He sees the Bootleg Joker standing in the shadows. Surprised, he asks who the hell he is before being smacked across the face. A lot of gangsters pull up their rifles to show him the spirit of America, but he just laughs, telling them to give it all they've got. They bring out the heaviest rifles they have and start firing away, but not a single bullet puts a dent in the man. Shadows wrap around his frame as the moon bears witness to the carnage he brings tonight. He smiles, asking them why they are so serious and where their boss is. Screams echo through the night. At the Prime Minister's office, they congratulate dungeon busters, giving them a certificate of commendation. Their organization has incredible spirit and has the honor of being the first in the world to subjugate a dungeon. They have also proven that humanity can triumph over supernaturals in the dungeons. This is a historical event that is to be recorded so that newer generations can be inspired. To recognize his accomplishment, he is given the certificate, and the press covers it all. Kazuhiko smiles and goes through the press conference. Later he returns to the home dungeon, telling Akane that he's finally back, and the talk went smoothly. She's been waiting for him like a loyal wife, bringing him his coffee and asking about the meeting. Kazuhiko explains that it went better than he expected. They didn't use their home dungeon, or the drop items they have from it. Akane is glad for both herself and Emily. Now they have 5 months left to take down the abyss. For that they will need to rank up to B rank. Kazuhiko smirks, asking Akane to partner up with him again, and she smiles because this is the day she has been waiting for. She will follow him to the depths of hell if it means staying together.